Much needed coffee, everybody. How are we doing today? We got a lot to go over. I haven't really talked to everybody on Corpse Talk since Gen Con. So let's kick this off. I think I have this set up right. Do I remember how to do this show? I should. Can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Here, let me. Here, I'll do it again for you. You ready? Here, hold on. There's that. Is that better? Is that better? I shouldn't be muted. All right, good. Look at this. He's high-duking people. I said, I said hi to Kyle and to JD and Nick. See how you guys are doing. Yeah, I was muted. I bumped up my arm when I reached across. This is a touch capacitive. This little tiny piece up here. So if I get too close, like to grab something, you can bump it. So we got a bunch of stuff to go over. It took me a little bit today because the PDFs that I was trying to use couldn't be downloaded. So I had to contact somebody to get that fixed. So we got it now. We got it. So I'm going to download them now. We got a little bit of news to go over. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I picked up at Gen Con. Like this hat I got at Gen Con from the Backer Kit party. I'm about to look into this. It's like Castlevania is Rasslevania Symphony of something. So I'm kind of excited to see what that is. Let me find... Download this. Continue to download. Why, thank you. Well, thank you for downloading. We're going to go over 13 Omens, which I didn't even know was getting released till I was at Gen Con and talking to Eric Mona from Paizo, shooting the shit over a drink. This is exciting. They're kind of going into the zine soiree for a rules light horror system. I flipped through it, talked to them some there. I have not looked at it yet because I've been so fucking busy. So we're going to look at that today. I should probably get out the stuff I purchased. Hold on, man. Hold on. Let's see here. We'll get these out of the cupboard. We'll go over these. We'll show the new ring. Not that was really important. What else we got? Anything in here? Yeah, we'll show this too. We'll show this off. I think that's all the major things that I think of. Is there anything up in this cupboard? No. Nothing new in here. Okay. So we'll take these out. And then I have a non-Gen Con purchase. Well, a purchase that was supposed to come for Gen Con, but it didn't. To show off. Then we open up the box. Is there anything in here? These are all stuff you already know about. Nothing new here. Nothing new here. Nothing new here. I think, besides Daggerheart, because I got the collector's edition in, I don't know if there's anything else. Hold on, we're going to go in front of the lights. We'll break illusion. That's that. That's from the game. I did get something private I can show, but I can't really showcase it yet. But I will talk about it briefly. Anything else? You know, I'd love to know where I put Omens. It's not up here. Where would I put that at? Huh. I'm thinking. Thinking is hard. It's all Paizo stuff. Oh, fuck my life. Fuck my life. All Shadow Dark. And I don't know. I don't think I have. I thought I had something else, but maybe I don't. That might be it. It might be all the stuff I have to showcase. I think it is. Alright, well, just this stuff. I didn't really buy a lot of Gen Con. I did not stay dry, Kyle. I did not stay dry. I have some stories. I have some stories, that's for sure. We'll bring this camera over because I can show some of this on the overhead. Let's leave that in frame. So, Gen Con was a wild show. I sound tired. Allergies today, really bad. I should take an allergy pill. I didn't do it yet. No, just bad allergies today. But hey, I have coffee. So, Kyle, it was wild. You're talking about the storms. On Saturday at Gen Con, we had a really, really bad thunderstorm with tornado warnings. Of course, that's the only day that I had to go through the vendor hall. So, I was going through the vendor hall looking at stuff, and then I ran into my buddy Bill, Bill and Monica from Geeks A Go Go. And Bill and I are sitting there like, whoa, and everyone's phones go off and we get the tornado warning. Not a watch, but an actual warning. I was like, well, fuck. That's not good. I go, but I grew up around tornadoes, so I'm not really worried about it. Unless it's hitting the building. Whatever. They're like, please move towards internal things, away from all bay doors. I'm like, this is the only day I have to go through the vendor hall. And I looked around, no one leaves the vendor hall. And then I look up the ceiling, and there's fucking water pouring from it in the vendor hall. And it was right near where a bunch of my friends had set stuff up. So I was like, fuck me, man. So I started heading that way. Bill's telling me how he just made a warning system, an app, so that he could send it out because him and Monica run a really large farmer's market in Chicago. And when you got like 80-something people, you need to message quickly about like tickets for the cars, warnings for tornadoes, having people check in to make sure everyone's okay when something bad happens. There's no easy way to do it, so Bill wrote a program. He's literally showing me this as I'm walking towards the water to find out what the fuck is going on. So I get over there, and there's just water pouring down. And I was like, oh my God, the ceiling's coming in. I was like, this doesn't seem right. Next day I find out, and this water's deep. It's like shin deep by the time it really gets going. That pipes break. They closed the outside food because the wind was so bad it ripped up all of the tents for the food vendors, which sucks. I never got any food from the food truck alley. It was only like 30 minutes long for the tornado warning, but the water damage is pretty severe. They really had to do a lot of work to clean it up between that night into Sunday. Yeah, the videos from inside were nuts, Kyle. I'm in one of them, I think. I saw myself in moving people's stuff. Because I've vended so much, man. I don't want someone to have all their shit ruined. I did get some other stuff, but my thing that I got is, it unfortunately broke. One of the things I was really excited about. I got another present for somebody else, but I'm not showing that off today. Is there anything else I can really showcase? Yeah. No, there's nothing else I can really showcase. But I got a gift for somebody else. But I got myself an Ahsoka mug. I was super excited for this thing. And I have it turned around. It came in the box like this. I got home and opened the box up, and the whole inside of it shattered, like in 3 pieces. So I'm going to glue this one together to make it a mug for the desk. But they finally got back to me. They're going to let me buy another one, and then they'll pay for shipping. So that's cool. At least I'll get a replacement of the Ahsoka mug. But I had fun. I was just really busy at Gen Con. I ran 3 games. I was supposed to run a 4th. I didn't have a voice on Sunday. And it was really bad. For me, during tornadoes, the water is usually the worst part of the whole thing. Oh, yeah, 100%, dude. 100% JD. Water is always the worst part. You never know what the fuck's going to happen. You'll find out you have leaks in a brand new building. Like, you don't know. You never know. So I got to do that. I went to a couple private networking gigs. I got to go to the Backer Kit one with Rick and Courtney from Storytellers Forge. I've been super busy helping them. Sorry, I'm trying to get sleep out of my eyes. I feel like a fucking moron, but it's like sleep in my eyes and it won't go away. Washed my face this morning too and everything. But I went with Rick and them to that. It was pretty fun. The Backer Kit party was not what I was expecting. It was at, I think it was called the Hangar, which is like a sports bar, sort of. And I'm getting an allergy pill. I'm going to do drugs on the TV. So you can find an allergy pill in my travel bag. Allergy pill, where are you? Here we go. I really enjoyed hanging out with them. Met some cool people there. Met one of the head guys for it. He gave me the wrestling hat from one of his projects, which was cool. Got a backer kit shirt. Replaced my Godzilla shirt, the red one that I have, because it's worn out. Did I get anything else? Oh, I went to Morkborg every year. Morkborg, Luke from not Morkborg, Pirateborg. Luke's birthdays every year, so I went to that. Hung out with Forbeck and Sarah Babe and a bunch of people there. That was actually one of the highlights because I got to see a lot of friends in the industry that I really enjoy. And then let's talk about shopping. We got a couple things to go over. We're going to go over shopping today. We're going to go over the Deathbringer RPG. It's in its last 20-something hours. I'm going to decide today if I want to back it. And then we're going to go over 13 Omens, which was a surprise for me. And that's from created by Jason Bowman, who did Pathfinder 1st Edition. Obviously part of 2nd Edition. But Eric Mona and I were talking. He's like, hey, check this out. Went upstairs, got it, and gave me the preview copies to look at. But I bought a couple other things. So we're going to go through the shit that I bought. So, because fucking why not? Everyone wants to see everybody's haul, right? Maybe you'll find something cool. So let's go to the work one. Let's pull up the Dicey Cam. Dicey Cam. So, slide this shit over. So, at the what was it? Dispel Dice booth, they had a bunch of stuff for... What's it called now? Eat the Reich. And I love that game. I've only ran it a couple times, but I'm a big fan of Eat the Reich. I feel like they made something really special. So I was picking up dice. I got Field of Glory, which I have sitting over here. And I'll put them on the close-up so you guys can see them. But they had the Fang patch, and then they had a Fang challenge coin, which I thought was super fun. All right. Is this Fields of Glory? Yeah, it's Fields of Glory. Just making sure I have them all. So I did that, and you get the Fang piece. So let me zoom in on this. Where's my cam at? There we go. We'll zoom in. But I like challenge coins. Have any of you, when you get challenge coins, have any of you actually ever given them out? I don't know if I've ever given a challenge coin out. I know it's a very military thing to do to give them out. But I don't think I've ever given one of my challenge coins out. Have you guys? So you can see it's got the upside down bat on it. And then the other side is the fangs. Right? Pretty cool. Love the patch. I don't know what I'm going to put it on yet, but I like patches and bags of them. And then I got Field of Glory. This is the wrong guy. I think this is probably the easiest one to see it on. It is, it's like armor and flowers in a field. It's got kind of like an Elden Ring vibe. So I picked those up. That was from Dispel. I did go to a private party for the French something party. And they gave like, it's brought together by a bunch of Chessex and dice companies and shit like that, right? You do it for the 501st all the time. So to you giving a challenge coin out, what is the point? Just to trade? Because in the military, it's usually like you respect somebody and you give them a coin and you don't talk about it. What's the point of the challenge coin to you in the 501st? Is it just more of the trading aspect and the collecting aspect of it? Because that would be my guess. I do have some of yours. They're over here. Hold on. So, those who don't know, I collect a lot of these coins. Trading fun. I mean, I have a lot of coins. See, here's on top. I also have, one of my favorites is actually from GaryCon. This one's one of my favorites. I always try to get one of theirs. Right? I have tons. I love them. Collect them. I fidget with them. They're kind of my fidget toy when I'm sitting at the desk. Put this back. Put my guy back. So I picked those up, right? So those were fun. I went to the French, the French party. And in it, there was, like, classes. There's an adventure from Luke Gygax for, like, what was it called? For the riverboat that's out there. But check out this caliper they gave me. Like a full-on caliper. Because they deal in, like, printing and all that kind of stuff. The back is shattered for some reason. I don't know what the fuck happened. But this is a pretty nice caliper. Came with a battery and everything. Right? Full-on caliber. Which I thought was pretty sweet. And it came with a spare battery. So, thought that was cool. That was like a random one. With them, I also got the dice made from Chessex. I think this is Chessex for the French party. This broke. I don't know what happened to it or why it broke. But I don't really care. It's just a caliper case. But I mean, I love getting a free caliper. Do I have a bunch? Absolutely. Am I good with having more of them? Of course I am. Of course I am. So I also picked up some minis. I love Kingdom Death Monster. They have some of my favorite minis. So I picked up some new NPCs for shows. We do meetups with people and traveling, have a few drinks, trade coins, packs. Oh, okay, that's cool. You have to give me, like, do you have a company you like getting yours printed through? I want to find out who makes the ones that are like this. Because this thing's, like, fully textured and painted. The back is kind of boring, to be honest. But I fucking love the front of this one. Like, I'd love to know how they do that. Like, who they went through. So I picked up Fade. Some, like, a nurturing hunter mother. You can see she's got an eye patch. Right? Pretty cool. Excited about her. Picked up Astri, The Promised. I haven't opened them yet because I just usually don't until I'm ready to build them. I like her art a lot, actually. I think her art's super cool. And then this is what I've wanted for a long time, which is Percival. With a lantern and a knight. I think she'd be really good if we go back to playing Magic and Monsters. I'm probably going to use her as a Knight of the Rose. Really fun art. Their minis are just so good, dude. So good. And then I picked up, I stopped by my boys over at Necromolds. I got a shirt for them as well. And I got the new expansion, which is a gigantic map. Like, it's almost double the size of the normal one. Right? And it comes with a bunch, it comes with the rules, but you can see on the back here, it comes with the pieces that you put on the molds to make, like, high ground, high terrain. Which I think is fun. If you fall off, you get smashed, shit like that. I just loved our art. A bunch of tokens, the stickers to make those things, and then a gigantic map. And their maps are always super cool looking. And then I grabbed one of their just random rings just to see, like, hey, yo, what can I get? And I got the hummingbird, glow-in-the-dark hummingbird. So I picked up these. All right. And then when I got home, this came in. I just stitched this on yesterday with invisible thread. Right? Pretty cool. But I got one because this is Lockbee. And this is supposed to be here for Gen Con. I wanted it to be my travel one. I really like a lot of this. I'll zoom out. But there's one part I'm not a fan of. So this is a Lictrum dotted. These are my favorite journals lately. What I don't like is this. I love that this comes out. It's a pen holder to put your pens in, which is great. But it crushes against this thing the whole time. Like, it's so hard to zip it shut. It makes it so big. I guess if I had like a paper thin journal in here, it wouldn't be as bad. But I don't want, no one wants that in there. They got them so they could put these in. So this is supposed to tuck into a pocket and ride. So you still have your pockets up here, your pocket here, right? But this is too much. I like how it looks like a person. I like how much does that look? Oh, that you're talking about the Necromolds thing? This is a board game, Nick. This is a board game. You talking about this? They're huge comic fans. I travel with Necromolds, the molds and the clay, for my miniatures at games. So instead of getting miniatures together, I make a Necromolds. Have I not shown you this, Nick? Hold on, man. Hold on. So it's a full-on war game. But the guy's obviously an 80s fan. This is a board game. This is an expansion for it. Okay. And then inside here, let me close this for a second. I don't want to get it all over this. So I cram them in here. I need to find a better way to collect them and carry them for backpack. So they're tiny books. Like this, right? They have like your spell information on them. And then the inside are molds. So when I sit down to play a game, like when I run like D&D or run something somewhere, or I run even Breachers, I use it. I simply, you roll up a little ball, you stick it in here, and close it. Right? And it smashes it. And you open it back up, you peel out the excess, and you have your little mini. And this has went over so well at the conventions. Because you're just getting these little dudes, and the colors really represent the bad guys more than the shape. Like, there's a guy 2 axes. I wish they would come out with a line of like orcs and goblins and stuff like that, because they have a lot of really weird monsters. Because for their game, it makes total sense. I'm thinking about doing 3D sculpting and printing and seeing if there's a way to do it without them getting stuck in it. And then the ring, when you play the game, the ring, you take and you smash them afterwards, and then you leave them on the terrain as damaged stuff. And you can see if I zoom in here, it's a hummingbird. It's just Play-Doh. They call it spell clay. But this has been the best way for me to travel and do conventions. I bring like 2 or 3 books. I bring some spell clay in different colors. And I make this stuff and I put it out on the table. And everyone's like, oh my god. And then I bring little swords that can stab in them when they wound them and damage them. It's awesome. There's something about the interaction at the table that people love when you have this stuff out. It crushes every time. Every time without fail. Like, it's definitely the best thing I travel with for doing games. And I do it for all my games. It's just a good time. So we have that. What else can I tell you? Let me bring my heater up here. A coffee warmer. So we did that. The thing we're going to talk about towards after we look at the Kickstarter is the 13 Omens stuff. Really thin, zine style. This is the preview book and the adventure from James Jacob. Paizo Peeps making something new. So I'll go... Oh yeah, more of a comic feel? Yeah, 100% JD. I'll go through this stuff when we get into the actual show part of it, but I want to go over the Kickstarter first, because this is the last day for Deathbringer. I'm a big fan of of Dungeon Craft. He's done a lot of good things over the years. I like his personality and attitude towards the gaming industry. And he's been running that for a long time. Tim Hitchcock, who I stayed with this year, is good friends with the gentleman from Dungeon Craft. They both teach in the same school district. And it's cool to see his game come to life. I'm always excited for people who finally get to publish their game and come to life. They're working with the Roll for Combat people. Pretty cool. So we'll go over these. They're pretty. They're very pretty. Really clean. Easy rules with an adventure. We probably won't go over the adventure today, but I kind of want you to see the attitude of the style of print, what they're doing. And they're writing up prologue and all that kind of stuff for it. So I'm curious to see what this is like. I haven't read the rules yet, so we're going to go over this today as well. So that's everything. But the Lockbee thing, before we move off, I don't like how this fits. I love this. I probably won't travel with this piece. Or maybe I'll throw Velcro in the back and stick it in my backpack. But I don't like how this fits. I just don't. I think it's stupid. And especially when you go to zip this shut. So now you're crushing your pens against it, and it makes it really bloated. This wax canvas. But I love this, because I can just travel this, and this is all my gaming stuff in one thing. That's the reason I got this. So with that said, okay, man, this is gonna be hard to reach this shit now. Motherfucker. Maybe I'll put it behind it. Hold on here, we're gonna do some finagling. I have this really nice cup warmer for my coffee here, because my coffee gets cold, and I fucking hate that. But the problem is, it's bulky. It seems weird with the pens, right, JD? But without it, it's fine. And again, I bet you, if I were to take out the book, if I slide this thing out, right, and close it, that's great. It's fine. Looks normal, right? But I don't even think you can put a thin one in here and have it be good. And this isn't that thick, man. It's pretty thin. And it's a softback. It's not even like the big hardbacks. Like I have a Lectrum hardback, right? And there's a significant more page count. So I don't think I can run this in it. So I was like, well, I'll run one of my thin babies in it. And I just kind of put this over it. And then slid it in. And I was like, oh, this fits really well. And I love that there's an area back here to put sheet stuff too. Here. Right? And it's got great storage. It's got a double pocket. One here, this, and this. But this pen holder sucks. I would rather have had a single pen holder here. On this side. Or on the spine. Here. So I might get a little slip case to fit. I only need 2. I travel with pens. But this just doesn't fit worth a shit. And this is just a Lamy Safari. It's not even a big pen. Even with that in here, it closes awkward. See that? It's just dumb. I know they're trying to give a place to put pens in here. I love this. This is all like a nice soft felt. Not felt, but like velour. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to ditch the pen holder. I think I have to. Right? So, regardless. If you don't have any of these, there's still some of my favorites. I think I even have... Hold on here. Oh, don't forget your Hot Pocket affiliate if you want Hot Pockets for Monday's show. I'm letting the cast eat. It's in the Discord if you guys haven't seen it in the announcements. Oh, what the fuck? Uh-oh. My buttons aren't working. Hold on here. had the pen holder built in. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. Weird, my buttons aren't working. Oh, that one worked. There we go. So Discord, there's that. I love everything else about it. I mean, it's still worth the price. It's not expensive. Yeah, so this is... I like the A4s a lot. Hold on here. Where's my button at here? Huh. So this is the A4s. Right. This is Lecturum 1917. This is the A4 version, which I adore the A4. The A4 is that really big one that you see me do all the Breacher stuff in. Right, that's the A4. And then the A5s. Comes in a bunch of different colors. This is the A5s. I love these. I think these are by far... I think they're my favorite. I really do. And they're just clean. And the hardbacks are really nice. The paper's really nice. It's got a full backer piece in it here for you to put all your shit in, right? Let me actually move this. I'm going to show these off. I don't know show these off before. Let's tilt it a little bit. They have a full pocket. But the best part about these, for me, and oh yeah, they also have like paper and page number, and you can put your name on it and all that kind of crap to memorize where it is, who owns it. But I like them. If we zoom in here, I like them because they have page things for content. I did dots because I do a lot of artwork in mine, but they're fucking numbered. They're all pre-numbered. Can you see that? So all the pages come numbered. And it has a ribbon. Everyone always asks me, "You have a ribbon in it?" It does have a really nice thick ribbon, right? I like these a lot. And I think the page count's like 250. Yeah, 250 pages. So these are my favorite journals. And I like their softbacks too, because they're still semi-hard. And they're really durable. Really, really durable. But anyway. So if you don't own them, those are my favorites. Now let me fix something here. Huh. What the fuck is this problem? Why are you being a twat waffle? Twat waffle. You've been caught in the twat waffle. I did start working on the jingle too. For those who are interested. I gotta look up something here. Can I look up a thing, please? That's so weird. trying to find a code for something here. Huh. This is fucking... I'm really getting fucking annoyed now. Really getting annoyed here. This is the right thing. Am I wrong? My login for something is not working. Huh. Weird. Very weird. The twat waffle emojis? No. Do you have them? Drop them to me. No, I've not seen them. I've not seen them. Thanks, Kyle. Small number of coins. Jesus Christ, bro. I want to get a Thontia ones produced for the True Faith. Yeah, I saw the pic, yeah. So, the biggest thing I want to go over today is I want to go over our Kickstarter here that I'm interested in looking at. So let's pull up Chrome. Chrome. Find what I'm looking for. The Deathbringer backer kit. Yes, that is it. Thank you, Chrome. Fucky. Doesn't want to do his job today. I'm more mad that I can't log into this account. Oh, we're talking about vending machines? No, I did not see them at all. We have a like a Stitch thing in the window downstairs that says "Don't be a twat waffle," which made me really happy. I mean, I thought it was funny as shit. Try logging in again. Is that it? That's it. Oh, that's why it's an old one. Perfection. Put them in. Yeah, I can't scroll back in general chat here. Well, you know what? Up here I can. No, I didn't see it. In general chat in Discord? I can't scroll back that far. Yeah, I don't see him. Put him in here again. So I'm going to mute the music playing. We're going to go through... I don't see him at all. I see the Hot Pockets and the brains in them. Oh my God, those are amazing. Where can I get those? No, I see it. I see it. Are those downloadable? Can I add those in? Dude, hold on a minute here. Are they actual emojis? This is happening right now. This is happening right now. Oh, you drew them? Holy fuck. Hold on. I'll know in a minute for you. Let's check it out. I'm going to try putting them in right now. Hold on. I got to go to here. I got to go to... Let me just open up Studio and another. Well, I'll see if I can do it here. Hold on here. We're going to try right now. Customization. YouTube. I guess I can put the music back on. Trevor where it's at. Is it here? Important for you to know. Important for you to know. Engage, earn, access, supers, memberships. Here's memberships, okay. I'm trying to find the area to add them back in. Hold on here. It's in a weird spot. It's memberships. Click customize. Memberships. Oh, I see memberships. Levels, badges. Here we are. Emoji. Yes. Upload. On here. We'll see if it works. They might be too large, Nick. TW Angry. And then we'll upload the other one. This is just a normal waffle. T-waffle. I think I can add one more. Hold on here. What's the last one? Cute? Cute T-waffle? TW cute? TW smile. All right. Let's see if they work. See if they're there for it. Oh, no. It says the aspect ratio must be 1:1. Aspect ratio has to be 1:1. So if you can make them 1:1, I can add them. One by one. So if you can do that, I can do it. They're awesome, though. You must not have them in like a 1:1 ratio. They must be slightly rectangular or something. But anyway, we'll get them sorted and we'll do it. Those are fucking dope, dude. I'll add them to the Discord, too. You don't need to pixel them. They just need to be 1:1 ratio. So, I'm going to pause this. We're going to pull up YouTube and we're going to watch this 42-second clip. This is Professor Dungeon Master. Problem? You mean no problem? Oh, gotcha. So we'll go through this. I'm really excited for this. For those who don't know, let's talk a little bit about Professor Dungeon Master. This guy's been around for a long time. He's doing a lot of really fucking cool shit. He's providing videos for people forever. He is the reason that I made my DDT terrain. This stuff. He's the reason I made this for Breachers. Right? We don't need this anymore. Get out of the way. He's the reason I made this DDT terrain. Right? Silicone idea came from Black Magic Craft. But I made this because I wanted to have an easier way to have combat on a mat and not have to carry it. I really want to make dope looking textured thin vinyl ones. I have an idea using a vinyl and a silicone roller to make some textured ones. I think would be fun. So I'm interested in this. I think this is great. He designed this concept. The whole idea is it's more of a play, and you're moving things onto the stage for the players instead of the players having to move through hallways and stuff. And I combine that with what I consider my Zelda tactics. I don't know if I've ever shown this. I don't think I have. I should do this for you. So the way, let me go into Canva. I'm just going to go to the whiteboard. Hold on here. Whiteboard. So I really like quick, easy to understand maps when I'm running games at conventions, right? And I love detailed maps for me as the GM. So here is how I've been combining these two things together. I put that big circle out at the table. And then I'm going to go to, I have 3 layers of maps that I do. Let's check this out before we talk about Professional Dungeon Master. Those are so dope, Nick. So, let me close this thing. So this is just the whiteboard, right? I'll do it with squares. So the way I do it is old Zelda style, right? So let's take this, let's make it the Breacher's blue tone, and we'll do a stroke on it so it looks like it's drawn. We'll give it like a pretty decent stroke, and we'll give it that. And then we will make the interior of it nothing, right? So here's our piece. There's our square. The way I have been doing this at conventions is I'll put this and I'll type in like start, enter, right? Like that. And I'll just write it in. And I may have a full map for myself. But when they're exploring the dungeons, if this is the full table, I'll start drawing these out. And every time they go from one section to another, I simply take a normal tool, like so. I will make it bigger. And then I put arrows on the end of them. So if they're going from here to here, I do Zelda maps. Like, no joke. I just do a Zelda map. And if I'm hand drawing, it's easy. And I will just hand draw it just to show you with the mouse. So I'll be like, okay, yeah, you can go either way with this, right? There's your door. There's no doors in here. You guys came through here. And I will draw the map as we're going, and I will just add more rooms. So if they go to the next room, I'm like, okay. And I don't draw the shape. I just say it's a square. If it's, a square. If it's got a weird shape to it, like if they go through, okay, yeah, this is a crooked hall. It's natural terrain. I'll do that. And I'll put a door here, or an archway. I'll say there's an archway here. Like this. And then I'll do another one. I'll be, all right, you come through another archway here. This room is naturally shaped. And I draw it. And if anyone ever asks how big it is, because I'm playing Shadow Dark, I'm like, it's far. Or it's double near. Something along those lines. And if it has to be a specific map, like we get to a room that's important, I will then put that map on the table for combat if we have a major map, right? But the constant time, I'm literally drawing a mini map for them off to the side. What ends up happening is I draw these mini maps and the players learn to draw their own. And they will draw a quick mock-up mini map of that room. Works every time. And then for combat, because I'm using the UDT terrain, I will have, not this ugly color. We've got to get our blue slate in here, right? We'll have this, and I'll just duplicate it, and I'll put it over it, and put it behind it. Is it this button? Or is it Alt? It's Alt. So I say this one, I'll make it the darker blue. And we'll push it behind, right? So now we have our UDT. And then I will do another one and duplicate it, line it up, and we'll make it black really quick, right? And we'll push this to the back. Right, and everything out of this is far. This is how UDT works. This is your close, your near, your far. And I just have that setting off the side. The minis stay on that. I draw a mini map, and I have a little token in here for them. But I did, at Gen Con, do the scratch away. So I have two versions if I want an actual dungeon crawl. Did I clean them all? I might have. I think I did. So I guess I do need this still. I fucking lied. Hold on here, everybody. So this thing I bought, it's a Japanese, I want to say construction, but it's made for like working in a factory. All right. So this thing unfolds for 11 by 17s. And in here, I put these. And they're 11 by 17s. And I painted over them. Oh, this is the wrong ones. These don't have it. Where's my painted ones? Well, anyway. I don't have them sitting out. I painted over them with black acrylic paint and like 5 to 8% dish soap. And you paint, just use a roller and roll it over it, and it becomes a scratch off, like a scratcher card. And they could scratch their way through the terrain for in person. Dude, that stuff went over so well at Gen Con. But so between that version and this version, I can map it out and not have to have this gigantic map on the table if I don't want. Right? So I can have them just scratch away the areas they've been through. UDT and your small footprint in the middle of the table. But this piece here where people just draw themselves the Zelda key has worked so fucking well. So well. So anyway, back to Professor Dungeon Master. This gentleman has been teaching people how to use UDT terrain for a while. He has been playing 5e. He's made his own stripped down version of it, and it's super deadly, right? That's kind of like his claim to fame with this Kickstarter. So,
Hi, I'm Professor DM.
And I'm Deathbringer.
The Deathbringer backer kit is coming to an end. So, if you dig 80s D&D, Savage Sword of Conan, Heavy Metal Magazine, and Thundar the Barbarian, you are going to love it. Deathbringer features fast combat, innovative mechanics, compatible with Shadow Dark, and all old-school modules like the Keep on the Borderlands, and my new official Ultimate Dungeon Terrain is
so these are what I'm really interested in. They are vinyl.
included, along with exclusive stuff you can only get on Backer Kit.
Like skull dice made from the horns of endangered
Buying that.
unicorns.
So click on the link below before it's too late.
Don't let all these unicorns die for nothing. Back now.
So that's there. I really wish that they had the full trailer. Let's see if we can find the full trailer. He used to do his stuff for a long time. He played with Death Saves at Gen Con. Unfiltered Deathbringer. I wonder if they have the Kickstarter video, the Backer Kit video. I don't see the Backer Kit video. Huh. So, this is the video they have up right now. Voted most anticipated game of 2026. I mean, look, first off, it's fucking crushing. Like, guy's got his retirement fund here. Well, legitimately does, right? So, like, I'm pretty excited for it. I love all the things he just said. Those are all my jam. Let's put on some White Bad here. Hold on. What's the new playlist? Oh, we'll use this one. So I'm excited for that look. I love Deathbringer as a look. I love that model. For a long time, he's using the Chaos dude from, I I think it was from Hero Quest. So now he's got custom ones made, have like huge ass statues for him. If you do a deluxe box or the core box at 250 or higher, behold my likeness, full color hand painted. I really don't want these. I would rather have my own that I could paint. But Deathbringer and Lady Deathbringer, which is dope. But all the art is like right up my alley. And these UDTs is what I want out of this Kickstarter. They're doing rollable vinyl, really nice looking UDT terrain. And I love this because I like my foam, but it's hard to travel with the foam. You know what I mean? And so this is his video on that.
Professor DM here, and I have to confess, I am a certified Tyrannosaurus Rex. I have crafted over the years a metric ton of terrain from scratch, and I've collected tons of other terrain.
We all have a lot of terrain.
I've discovered that it's not always the most practical. Take this building, for example. Yeah, the roof comes off. It looks really cool, but how many miniatures can you actually fit in here and move around with your hands? And if someone's across the table, they can't see over the walls. Same thing with dungeon terrain. I could cover an entire dungeon with terrain.
Agreed.
I would discover that my players on one side of the table couldn't see over the walls to the other side of the table. And they were always saying things like, oh, what's going on? Just move my guy. Other times, I would build out
This is all true.
city blocks for city sieges, only to discover my players focus on one little area, like a 6-inch radius area, and just wouldn't move because they were afraid to split the party. And the dungeons and cities would take hours to set up and hours to put away.
Yes.
I bought an expensive sunken gaming table, but that would have cost thousands of dollars I didn't have. And that is how I came up with Ultimate Dungeon Terrain. The concept is very simple. It's just like a musical, like Hamilton. Instead of building a ton of terrain, put the miniatures representing the characters in the middle, and it acts as a spotlight. And you build the set around them. Instead of having to reach a
Mantic terrain is really good, but you can get scatter terrain for anyone now.
Susan in the center, and your players can move the terrain to them, repositioning their miniatures, and everyone can always see what's going on. Each ring represents 3 abstract distances, close, near, and far. Your players descend a staircase. Put the miniatures in the center circle, then add the pillars. This is what they can see. The center circle represents close range, 20-foot radius in any direction. Near is 30 feet away. It's ranged and spellcasting distance. Far is out of range. Screw grids. Grids slow play. In a round, the character can move one range band and attack. The heroes are surrounded by the fungus-licking cannibal cult.
I totally agree with this, unless I'm playing a miniature game.
The Plague Doctor chucks a poison gas grenade. The Doom Scribe casts Tragic Missile. We don't count feet or...
Tragic Missile? Is that what he did? Did he say Tragic Missile? I think he did.
In ranged distance. The cultists swarm the characters. Anyone in the center circle is...
He said Tragic Missile.
Move and attack anyone else in the circle. The Deathbringer takes down a cultist, and that allows him to cleave another. Battle smites a cultist.
So,
someone always asks, what happens if someone moves from close to near distance or far distance?
I think his are 30 inches across, which is what I think mine is.
Surrounded by monsters, their friends won't be able to reach them. That player will learn the hard way not to split the party. When characters move to a new location,
True, murder them.
The terrain around them. Now it's a hall. Now it's a crypt. Now it's the Orc King's throne room. Ultimate Dungeon Terrain allows you to play more world in less space. You can change settings in seconds. The Deathbringer UDT will include several double-sided versions: dungeon, forest, castles, taverns, ice, lava, and more. The new UDT will be made of neoprene, which means it'll be light.
And that neoprene, I would just put on a Lazy Susan.
Shove it in your backpack and go. Ultimate Dungeon Terrain is the perfect solution if you love minis and models but hate the cleanup or you don't have the space for storage. Back in the old days, I have videos showing you how to make this dungeon terrain, but it was time-consuming and messy, and you needed to buy a lot of supplies. But now you'll be able to get official UDT.
I mean, I still have another green one downstairs to make, but
Thanks for checking out.
I'll probably do it anyway because they just look cool on the table. I say traveling with them. So that's done. It's 18 inches, 3 zones, right? A printed mouse pad, you got it. But it's circular. That's the thing. Getting a circular pad printed, you'll have a lot of waste. Even if you stagger your stacks together for circles, you have a lot of waste. But not as much as people think. You could get a big 18-inch mouse pad printed and just cut it out. But they're, I think they're textured neoprene when I was looking at it at Gen Con. Super cool. New classes. The Battle Nun. The Bounty Hunter. Deathbringer. Doomscribe, which I love that. Fucking awesome art. The Fighter. Tell me that ain't Mr. T. Tell me that isn't Mr. T. Looks like Mr. T to me. The Plague Doctor. With built-in wrist rest. I mean, I've seen that done. The Thief. The Witch Hunter. And then here's the class walkthroughs. Actually, here, hold on. Let's do it on this. It's easier to see when it's big.
I'm Professor DM. Thanks so much for checking out Deathbringer. This video is going to be about character creation.
Mr. T! Exactly.
That we're coming up with for the book, and I'm going to talk to you about like my thought process for how I created these different classes. And I'm going to go through them in alphabetical order. First up is the Battle Nun. It's no secret, I really don't like clerics. There are a couple reasons why I don't like them. Number one, I always like sword and sorcery fiction, and there is no cleric archetype in sword and sorcery fiction.
There is not.
It's solely created for the Dungeons and Dragons game. And the second reason I don't like them is a practical one. They're constantly healing and restoring hit points. Hit points are a timer. The faster the players lose hit points, the more the tension in the game mounts. The other thing about clerics is I often find players playing kind of a chicken shit cleric. Like they're just kind of hanging back and not really attacking, just waiting to heal people or themselves when they go down. The Battle Nun wants to die in combat. She wants to be a martyr. She doesn't heal. Instead, she has weapon mastery, hammers. She can banish the undead, and she can smite the unholy, doing extra damage to undead and demon. The Bounty Hunter is my answer to the Ranger. They are tough and resilient. Excellent trackers, they always get advantage to track, weapon mastery, and Deadeye. When using a ranged weapon of their choice, they do d6 extra damage. But they don't cast spells. Their whole thing is they track criminals and bring them back dead or alive. The Deathbringer. Deathbringers are a cult of alchemically enhanced super soldiers. Like fighters, they can use any weapons. They have weapon mastery, and then they have cleave, which allows them to take an extra attack on an opponent that's in near range if they drop an opponent that same round. They can also get an extra attack by cashing in one Deathbringer die. They can make an extra attack that round.
Yeah, I forgot Deathbringer
Technically,
die.
if Deathbringer hoards their Deathbringer dice and spends them all at once, they could make a
Which is
flurry
cool.
of 3 or 4 attacks in a single round, which is really badass. The Doomscribe is the wizard, but instead of restricting them
She looks
to
dope.
just spells when they level up, they can cast any spell that they find on their tier. But the catch is they have to tattoo the formula on their skin. So this encourages the player to constantly be listening for rumors about where spells and scrolls and tomes might be located, and they're going to want to explore those areas in the hopes of getting new spells. They can even take them from the skins of other dead Doomscribes. Doomscribes also have a patron who will grant them spells, but this is an NPC and the Game Master gets to play them, and the Game Master gets to decide what spells the Doomscribe has access to. This makes Deathbringer a lot easier to Game Master because the Game Master is parceling out the spells. They can avoid broken spell combinations. And it also provides cool role-playing opportunities between that
I agree with all
and
this.
their patron. Fighters and thieves are very much the same as they are in Shadowdark, but they do get additional talents and a narrative piece that explains how they got their talents. So I'm looking at the fighter. I'm looking at 8. You win an archery contest or a duel of honor. Gain
I think this
+2
is smart.
dexterity.
It gives just enough narrative.
Sip small amounts of venom daily and build an immunity to poison. You gain +2 to all your poison saving throws from now on. It's like little cool narrative flourishes that make Deathbringer characters a little different. The Plague Doctor is the one healer in the game, but they can only restore D4 hit points with first aid, and they can only do it once per day per patient. It can cure poison and disease, which is very common in the Deathbringer world. In addition, they
Also,
are
great
alchemists.
fucking mini.
They create D4 random potions a day. Things like acid grenades, sleep, hallucinations, or a nitro grenade. The potions only last one day because the ingredients are so unstable. but the random
Oh,
element really
that's... I didn't know that. That's
and
cool.
the player has to improvise. The final class is the Witch Hunter, who are religious fanatics who want to hunt down all spellcasters, including Doom Scribes. Witch Hunters can banish the undead. They have Righteous Fury, which is a bonus to attack all spellcasters, and spell resistance. They get advantage on all magical saving throws. This will naturally create a little tension in your group. I'm not a fan of player versus player combat, but I think groups that have a little tension are more interesting. You know, having a bounty hunter and a thief in the same group, having a witch hunter and a doom scribe in the same group, and being suspicious of one another opens up role-playing opportunities. In addition to these, you can import any Shadow Dark class you like, whether it's an official one or a third party, like I believe Pit Fighter is one, and that would work well in the Deathbringer world. Thanks for checking out Deathbringer.
So that's our classes. Really quick, to the point. He gets it. He gets it. Quick and to the point, right? I'm adding those in. I was letting it talk in the background. So let's try now. There you go. Emojis work now. I resized them really quick while that was going on. Multitasking. So I'm excited for that. New monsters. Do we get new ones? Ooh, look at this thing. Ugly. Oh, I fucking forgot about the Carcass Crawler. Eldritch Horror from Beyond. Combat's pretty clean. All that art is like that class level. I think she's a vampire. She looks like she's a vampire. Maybe a necromancer. They go through the combat for it. So I'm curious what the combat is. So let's see what combat is. To me, this is like learning the Kickstarter or backer kit. Learning what it is and what's going on is part of why these videos are important. I think more Kickstarters should do these short videos so people know what they're getting.
And I'm going to be taking on the duties of the GM and all the player characters and showing you how the rules and
there you go.
Ultimate Dungeon terrain work. The heroes descend the stairs into the temple of the fungus-licking cannibal cult. In the center is a pit surrounded by 6 chanting cultists. They have awakened their dark god, Garzan, and his tentacles ride like whips, searching for a victim to devour. This
I feel like I should have rinsed this glass. I feel like there's some soap in it.
3 rounds, unless
I don't think there's some detergent.
Since neither side has any
Disappointing.
advantage, we're going to roll d6s for side-based initiative. The heroes win. The Deathbringer and Fighter charge forward to engage the cannibal cultists. Plague Doctor stays in range distance. He's going to chuck a gas bomb in this direction. The rogue
Is that the angry one?
attempting to sneak behind these pillars
Yeah.
in the shadows. Doom Scribe prepares tragic missile. Her target is the Magister Blasphemer, but I inform her that the tentacles are in the way, so she targets this guy instead. I have all the players roll at the same time.
I love Lazy Susans.
Different colored dice represent the different player characters. The target number is 12.
I've been trying to find some oversized dice to have.
So she's successful.
Like just like 1.5 times the size of like a Dispel dice because it's easier to read on screen.
The Doom Scribe's tragic missile hits, but the Plague Doctor's gas grenade is a miss, and it goes down the pit. I asked the Plague Doctor if he wants to use a Deathbringer dice, but all the players only have 1 left, so he opts not to. The tragic missile does 5 points.
He is saying tragic missile.
This cannibal cultist brains all over the pillar. Now it's time to melee attack. The fighter will attack, and the Deathbringer will engage with these 3 cultists.
Lazy Susan makes it so dope.
Fighter rolls, and she hits with an 18, causing 1 point of damage, and she opts to use a Deathbringer die.
I have those dice.
Running him through with her sword.
I like the dead tokens.
Rolls an 18, inflicting maximum damage. That means the die explodes, causing
Angry T-Waffle
points of damage. And I asked him to describe the kill. With a mighty swing of his axe, he chops this cannibal cultist in half. And now he can use his cleave talent to attack again.
I have this pack of old ghouls that he's using right now.
And the dice
I carry them with me everywhere.
This time for 10 points of damage.
I just don't like carrying painted minis, man.
Smashes
I always get
this one
damaged.
with his axe
It's just so
and
much more
flings
work.
him into the jaws of Garzan. But the Deathbringer's player isn't done. He can spend a Deathbringer die to make another attack, which he
Kill him.
does. This time, though, he's unsuccessful. But he moves closer to the Magister Blasphemer, as does the fighter. They're pressing their enemies. Half the opponents have been defeated.
I didn't even notice
Are
the
they going
person
to continue
strung up
to
on the
fight?
board on the rack.
Yes. I'm gonna roll the timer
Wait,
die
what was that?
to see how many rounds.
Wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
3 rounds. This cult.
What was the yes
How many
dice for?
rounds it will take to sacrifice the victim. 3 rounds. This cultist will. How many rounds enemies?
I missed what he said there.
Half the opponents have been defeated. Are they going to continue to fight? Yes.
Oh, just a yes, no die.
Die to see how many rounds it will take to sacrifice the victim. 3 rounds. This cultist will attack the fighter. This the Deathbringer. The tentacles will attack random opponents. Anyone in the circle is a possible target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The cannibal cultists both miss. The tentacles both miss. Things are going well for the player characters, at least up until now. But it's initiative again.
It doesn't feel like Deathbringer. No one's dying.
To swing. Both the Deathbringer and the
Ooh.
fighter are hit. Fighter gets
Ooh.
critical. The Deathbringer is going to take 2 points of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
Got 5 hit points left, so he can absorb that. A 20 means we roll the D6 and a D12 for bonus damage. 7 hit
Whoa,
points
whoa,
of damage.
whoa. The bonus damage for crits is just a D12? That means the die that doesn't get used enough is getting used. I actually really like that. Hey, serving hands.
Than her current hit points. So she uses a Deathbringer die to block 2 of them. That's enough.
I mean, that's what we do in
to
Breachers.
survive with 1 hit point. Meanwhile, the tentacles are going to attack the Magister Blasphemer and the Deathbringer. Both are misses. Seeing the fight is not going his way, the Magister Blasphemer gets ready to push the victim in, which will happen at the end of next round. Now it's the player's turn. Having run out of
I mean, this does go very quick. But this is how I think Shadow Dark feels.
Doomscribe is going to cast Tragic Missile again. She wants to cast
The other difference is
but I warned her,
players hem and haw about their
from
decisions.
the innocent victim and the pillar. So she opts to target the victim's shackles instead, with the hopes that if she can destroy one, the victim will be able to free herself.
Or kill her on accident.
Advantage, she misses. But the Doomscribe has a +4 intelligence and only needs a 12. So she opts to use her final Deathbringer die to raise it to a success. The fighter and Plague Doctor attack that cannibal cultist. Both are hits. Between the 2 of them, they hack him to bits. The Deathbringer attacks that cannibal cultist.
Huh.
17. Inflicting enough damage to kill him. And he feeds this cannibal.
I like that
cultist
D12 for
as
bonus
well.
damage.
Now the
That's
rogue
really
has choices
cool.
to make. She can rescue the prisoner.
I never thought about that. Instead of doing double your die damage, it's just a D12 more.
Possible double
I wonder if
damage
that's from the
and
class.
what she's going to do. It's a 15 for 6 points of damage.
His D12 is my favorite
Not enough
die.
to kill it, but she has a Deathbringer die, and she's going to increase that damage to 6 more, 12. That's still not enough, but the Plague Doctor's player still has a Deathbringer die, so he gives
Okay.
it to the rogue, and that is
Oh.
enough to take out the
Huh.
Magister Blasphemer.
So much
I don't know
damage.
How she kills the Magister Blasphemer. And
So in 6 minutes and 21 seconds, this guy explained the changes of his game. First off, this is a lesson to anyone selling a product. This is what you should be doing. Shattered Empire is a new empire. The Deathbringer world. I prefer waffles over pancakes too. I'm really excited for this. Because if this is anything like Shadow Dark,
Professor DM, today we're talking about the world of Deathbringer. Deathbringer is not going to waste your time with 400 pages of fantasy lore about elven politics or a pantheon of gods. The world is exactly what it sounds like, a dying realm where grim mercenaries, desperate rogues, and corrupt spellcasters scratch out a living in the mud and the blood. The Deathbringer world was inspired by
Cast of the Moment. I like D12s, man. I'm a big fan of them. I'm working on a project. I got a Kickstarter coming out in October that I'm helping with. And it's a D12 based game that the guy developed. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Low technology level, the fact that you don't
Mr. T!
a lot of armor
I pity the
that's
fool.
made out of things that you could find like bone and hide, and that magic destroys the environment. So it's that type of world. Names of locations: Cankermouth, Doomgrave, Fangwood, Frostkill, Pissburg, the Scorched Lands, Slag, Skull Hills, Squidmarsh. I find the names themselves do most of the heavy lifting. Like, Squidmarsh is a coastal town. Frostkill is somewhere cold, and the Scorched Lands are a desert. And do you really?
He's really
intend to
quiet
get
for
the
me.
Description for
Turn it up a touch
Pittsburgh?
so I can hear him.
It's not an affluent place. The world has suffered a magical catastrophe.
Fried chicken, baby. Yes, spicy chicken. Thank you. Spicy chicken and syrup. I want hot chicken and waffles.
The remnants of which are known as the Shattered Empire.
That's what I want.
Of Tormentia. Was this once a fantasy realm, or is it maybe our world in 1,000 years later?
That's what I want.
A mystery. I've always loved those kind of post-apocalyptic worlds where there's a strong sense of mystery about what happened, where you wonder, how did the world get this way? The impact from the comet scattered these artifacts called moonstone around the world, and these shards are rare. They're like diamonds, emeralds, sapphires. They're worth more than gold, and they're used to make magic armor, weapons, potions, and drugs. It's a world of conflict. That's why there are a lot of factions. Player character classes are factions. The Deathbringers are this cult of alchemically enhanced super soldiers that were designed to serve.
I added them to our Discord too.
They seek death in battle. You've got the Doom Scribes, and opposed to them, the Battle Nuns.
The T-Waffles. I love the Battle Nun, man. I think that's great art. Super fun.
Bounty hunters who hunt them. And then you have the rulers of the Shattered Empire, who are very, very vague and opaque. Every session, you're going to roll a die to determine who's ruling whatever area the player characters are in at any given time. And the laws of that area will change depending on who it is. It could be the Imperatrix Brutalia Fabulosa, who is beautiful and ruthless, and her portraits hang everywhere, and she has made swords illegal unless you're serving her in the army. Could be the High Theocrat, who hates magic so much that wizards are killed on sight. Or Prospero the Mad, who believes the real emperor is his hand puppet, Balm. I based it in part on real Roman history. There is a year called the Year of Seven Emperors, where there were 7 different people vying for the throne. And to me, that is a more compelling world than a world that's just, it's monsters versus the humans. It's factions of humans.
Guess what, everybody?
Against humans also fighting with
Guess what?
War is everywhere. And the
It's a sticker too.
Themselves reinforce the world.
There you go, Nick.
For example,
Thanks, bud.
With the Doom Scribes, when they roll to cast and they roll a miscast.
I like the tattooed casting too. I've always been a big fan of that.
Just withering, or all the fetuses within 1 mile just shriveling in the womb. So there is a reason why the Doom Scribes are hunted, and a logical reason why wizards don't overpopulate
Should be.
the world, because everyone hates and fears them. The air itself is poisoned from magic, so when you level up, you roll hit points with disadvantage, and damage explodes on a max die roll. So you can work your way to 20th level, but a single goblin with a rusty dagger and a very lucky roll can take out that character. When combat happens, it's going to be explosive and terrifying, like combat should be. It makes Murkborg look like Candyland. Thanks for checking out.
It'll make Borg look like Candyland. We'll see about that.
The miserable world of Deathbringer.
So all that's cool. What lurks within? We got a complete rule set, 8 brutal classes, learn about the fantasy setting, fast lethal combat, full magic system, complete bestiary, GM toolkit, the Bone Road, a D100 encounter table for ancient crumbling and connecting Empire cities, packed with chaos, horror, and occasional miracle, a starter adventure, the fungus licking cannibal cult, the digest size. Deathbringer brings in digest size, perfect for Shadow Dark and the OSR games. Quality throughout. Oh, he's going to do his adventures the way I write adventures. Dude, this guy's fucking huge. I have, JD, I don't know if I had the box anymore. I gave it to somebody at the end of the con. I made a Nightmare on Elm Street version of Candyland. And I had the Candyland board. We played it. You start. And then I flipped the lid over. And the inside, I sculpted the twisted version of the Candyland road. And I ran a Nightmare on Elm Street version of Candyland. But I gave it to somebody the person who won, I gave them a copy of it. I ran it probably like 6 or 7 times. Just didn't want to run anymore. It was a lot of fun, though. Shares satellite DNA, but mutates in vivid ways. That's awesome. Okay. All human art, no AI. Thanks. That's great. I'm glad he went back to the pig versions. They're showing the paintings because people get butt hurt. This is the thing I'm excited about. I dig this cut. Like this, I think this is dope. And then they got the huge box set. Sturdy box, case closed. So the standard box set arms you with everything you need for Deathbringer. So you got standard box set. Oh, wrong thing. I want this. Standard box set, 10 plus adventures, 16 pre-generated character sheets, GM screen, 12 custom made dice. They're not, I've seen these dice before actually. Deathbringer shirt, early access playtest, which I'm excited about that. They're bringing you Professor D himself. So roll up a battle nun, push your luck with death dice. I think these are the pouches for him. He does look. He does make him look like a molehill. See, I've seen these dice before. I don't think they're that custom. I actually think I have a dice similar to this. Maybe not identical, but similar to this. But they're doing a fucking album. How awesome is this? Like, that's probably the most exciting thing. Like, a fucking album? Come on. Songs of the Shattered Empire composed by Michael Gordon Shapiro. A lifelong gamer worthy of attention. Produced by Bat Bowen, Grammy Award-winning engineer who knows the glory. So I'm curious to hear the soundtrack. 12-inch vinyl. Play it loud. I know you will. And then, I don't know if these are art pieces for everything. Oh, the dice. So, I'm curious, as Deathbringer Total Party Kill dice sets, I feel like my buddy Brian Berg, who owns Total Party Kill Games, I was art director for them for a couple of years. I feel like he sells these dice. I'm not positive, but I kind of like these blue and red blood dice. They're old school as fuck. But then, this guy gets into, like, my heartstrings. Look at these, dude. 10 hard enamel pins. The Deathbringer patch. Right, with the art. And then there's stretch goals. They're all the way down to this. They don't have the behemoth thing yet. We'll create a free online character builder. I wish this would have happened. And then the team. Obviously him. This gentleman did Runehammer. I do too. I love them too, JD. I think they're actually really cool looking dice. Mike Seifter and then Stefan Glicker, they're both for Roll for Combat. He used to be Paizo. But then look at the people who are on board for helping this shit. You got Kelsey Dion from Shadow Dark. You have Ben Milton from Questing Beasts. Baron DeRop. I always forget this guy's name. Justin Alexander. Luke Stratton. This is the birthday party I went to. This is for Pirate Board. Great dude. Bob the World Builder. I don't know Grace. I know Discourse Minis. David McFarlane, I know. He's the other big dungeon crafting guy. I don't know Daniel Fox. Ron Frazier, I do know. I don't know William. I don't know this gentleman at all. I know Luke in passing. And I've heard of Coach K. So I know most of the people are helping make shit, which is dope. Videos and socials. Here's like they're live at Gen Con, the Ask Us Anything, whole bunch of Deathbringer stuff. This is where they're shipping and fulfilling through, which is super cool. They have their rough prices put down here in digital fulfillment. So now, let's look at the backing levels. Oh, thank you. I didn't know that, Nick. Grace is Bob the World Builder's wife. Thank you. So here is the pledge levels. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So for $1,000, you're getting all of it. And that is the jackets, the fucking vinyl, the dice sets, all the pins, the patch, all of the UDT terrain, the box set, the shirt, everything, right? Everything. I don't need this. This version is a deluxe box set, which is everything but the cut and the record, it looks like. Right? I think this is going to be the most common one, which is the core box set, the shirt, the dice, the D6 dice, and then I think these are the tokens. I still don't know what the fuck that is. Wooden Dirt UDT, Dungeon Grass DDT, Jungle DDT. What is that exactly? What are those? Character sheets, GM screen, cardboard pawns. These are the cardboard pawns. This, I think, is going to be the most popular 250. Right? That's my guess. Notice, too, the backer kit now has the month payout, where you can just do pay monthly. I think that's the most popular. And then the book basic is just the book, 2 UDTs, the sheets, and all this stuff. This is the one I'm looking at the most. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. She's Gucci, my book, excellent taste. Okay. All right. I see how you are. So that's that. I'm excited for that. I think this is the one I'm going to do. Or I'm going to do this one and then just do add-ons for the things I want. Like, more than likely, the book and the PDFs and then doing add-ons. Let's just look and see what add-ons they have available. So $20 you can add the dice. Okay. I don't need the Battle Zoos. Premium Shadow Dark Slipcase through Premium Battle Zoo. I don't need that. I don't need the monster hunting. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't really need the pre-gen characters. I constantly say the Shadow Dark Game Jam is the best game jam because everyone... I think it's pretty good. I really kind of want to run my own game jam. I'm thinking about doing it in the winter. Signed limited edition cover. I mean, that's cool. My thing is, like, I wish I could just buy that cover and not the other one. Like, I didn't see an option. Here's your dice sets. Right? The record's 40. I really just want the MP3s for that, even though that's dope. Embroidered patch set. Oh, that's cool. $199 for all of these. Right? I would just probably pick up... Man, honestly... I think I would only want these two. Like, that's just... I'll add that. Let's just see. I want to see what it brings up to. I'm already looking like I'm better off taking one of the other pledge levels. This is cool, but I don't need it. This is cool, but I don't need it. Right? We're scrolling. I want to see if we can get the cut. These are dope looking. The space ones, those are awesome. Don't need the Deathbringer dice set. So, printed level 1 characters, that's cool, but I don't need it. I want the GM screen. I don't care about the cardboard pawns. The shirt's okay. I've never been a fan of the square prints. I know a lot of people like them. I just haven't. You can do a whole dice set. There's the black, the total party kill black, the red. I like this blue, right? Pretty cool. Oh, those are posters. This is where they get me. I would love to have the pins. But like these statues, I want the minis. I didn't see mini options. Oh, here's the cut. Signed limited edition jackets are $2.99. Can I just buy the fucking patch? I like this, but not for this, not for that price. Cool that they did it though, and don't get me wrong, the patches are expensive. That one I can get embroidered, but I I can just go buy a denim jacket and make my own. All right, well, so I'm at 135 for the things that I want in my pledge, right? And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to check something here. I'm pretty sure that the dice are from my buddy here. So we're going to go to dice. Right there. Same style. For $12.95. So let me scroll. Oh, fuck off. What is the name of these ancient? Oh, because he names them weird stuff. Because he has like naming events and shit like that. Let's see if we can find those faded blue ones. My buddy Brian has a lot of... If you want some cool dice, my boy here has a ton of dice. Like just fucking shit you don't see anywhere. This is TPK Games. Good peeps. Brian's awesome. Like this one, the ossuary, really been tempted to get these numerous times. Look at that. Those are fucking hot. Oh, here they are. Faded blue, faded red. We're getting there. So they're ancient. Let's look up ancient. Oops, if I don't put 2 in here, it'd probably be easier. So he's got the blue, the red, and the purple. So I bet you he's providing him with the other ones. Or they're going through the same vendor. But they have them here. Boom, boom, boom. So pretty cool, right? Like, overall, I think this is a pretty good Kickstarter. I'm really interested in the book and the UDT terrain. Like, out of everything in here, that's what I want. I love the pins. And I like the skull dice. But here, let's go back to Brian for a minute. Let me just put skull. Because my boy loves his stuff. These dice here, I own a ton of. I love these. Love these dice. You've seen me use these for breachers. They're super fun. They look great. And he's got a whole bunch of them. There's the black, the yellow, the green. I think there's one other color as well. And they even have the pouch for them. Are these new? Oh, they have skulls in them. Look at that. So, like, my boy has a bunch of really good dice. I would probably purchase some more from him instead. So I think this is a good idea. I think this is a pretty solid Kickstarter. I think these UDT terrains are the biggest buy for me. Like, if I could just get the PDF and buy a bunch of UDT terrain, that's what I would do. Like, I would almost buy the UDT terrain pack in the PDF over the book. I don't know how much I care about having the book. As a matter of fact, hold on. Is there I could just get the PDF. Oh. I mean, I could do this too. And just do the collector's edition book and the UDT terrain. I think Pick Your Poison is smart. Hold on here. I gotta make a note of something here. Literally buy what you want. But I might do Pick Your Poison. Very tempting. Very, very tempting. I do love me some skulls. Me too. So, with all of this said, we got some other stuff. So, at Gen Con, I was talking to Mona, like I said, one of the days. I can't think it was Friday night. We were going over, just talking about zine printing and just the fun stuff in the industry that we enjoy. And they told me that they were doing a new... I had heard about it before at Gary Con, that they had something coming up, and kind of talked about it. But they were going to be printing a rules LIte horror system. I was like, no shit. That sounds awesome. So I get to Gen Con, and we're talking, and he shows me what's available. So I don't have a haunted. I want to see if there's anything cool for this. Haunted. Here we go. So I wanted to see what it was. He ran upstairs. He brought down the preview copies for me. Now, like I said, I haven't looked through them yet. I wrote them down. I wrote down on them. Made sure I know that they were preview copies. So let me read the back of this to you guys. 13 Omens Preview. A new nightmare begins. Take your first glimpse into the true terror with Paizo's new horror role-playing game. 13 Omens Preview is a fast and brutal horror RPG with a desperate investigations, intense character-driven roleplay, and shattering revelations. Step into the shoes of Ghost Stormer's documentary crew as they arrive at their decrepit Hollybrook Inn in search of new content. What they uncover is far darker than what they'd ever imagined. Find the truth included in the haunting of Hollybrook's story. Venture into the shadows, roll dice, and try to stay alive in 13 Omens. And then this is Bequeathed, but this is the other adventure. This one, Bequeathed, is a story for 13 Omens, a horror-themed rules LIte role-playing game for 5 players to fill a few hours of play during a dark and stormy night. The contents of this venture are for mature audiences only. Far off from these, a slow and silent stream. Lethe, the river of oblivion, rules. A water labyrinth, wherethal of drinks, forthwith his former state and being forgets both joy and grief, pleasure and pain. John Milton, Paradise Lost. So the adventure is for $14.99. The preview copy is for $24.99. It's a decent sized. I think, if I remember correctly, it's in the 64 page. Yeah, 64 pages. This is what this is, right? That's what this stuff is. So, with that, I knew I wanted to review it, but I don't like doing the top down with the gloss pages. So I contacted them and said, hey, is there a way I can get a hold of the PDFs from you? No problem. You can also put $5 down and get the PDFs to pre-order your copies, which I thought is pretty cool, but I could not get the pre-order copy thing to work. It may be fixed by now. I'm not positive on that. So let me just... 13 Omens. I'm going to bring it over to here, and we're going to open up the PDF, and we're going to take a look at them, because I'm really curious as to what this is all about. 13 Omens. All right, RPGs. I'm getting to the point to where my RPG library is getting kind of ridiculous. Like, legitimately kind of stupid. Well, I didn't put 13 Omens. I put exclamation point Omens. We're only going to look at the core book today, because I don't want to ruin the adventure. Let me see if I can find which is which. It's probably the bigger one. Pull up Foxit. Foxit has, by the way, for all my friends out there who have been working in PDFs and doing your PDF designs and making sure that everything prints properly and is trying to do PDF layout and editing, all that kind of stuff, right? All that kind of stuff. Foxit has been fucking wonderful. I'm never going back to Adobe unless I get it for free from a company. I don't want to say never. If someone's paying me to use it, I will use it, right? Like, I know how to use the tools. But I have no fucking reason to do anything but that. So, we're going to look through this. I'm going to take a piss. We're going to look through this. We're going to go through 13 Omens and see what exactly there is available for what's going on. What I want to do, though, before we dive into it, I want to see if Paizo put up a video for 13 Omens anywhere. I don't know if they did. I don't know what they did. There is reviews from like Narrative Declaration and a couple other things from one day ago, but I don't think... No, there's nothing. I wish Paizo had a little bit more on the video publishing arm. I really, really do. I'd love to do stuff for them if that was ever a feasible thing. So, 13 Omens. I think it's gonna be good. We'll see if it's good. We'll go over the work table. Pull up this, get rid of this, pull up Acrobat, make this thing a little wider for us. Or a lot wider. Nope, too far. I gotta make it fit the size. I like the art a lot, by the way. I don't know if that's a take on 13 Ghosts. I know some behind the screen stuff that I can't talk about, so I'm only going to stay strictly to what's in here. So, quick bio. Be right back. That was quick. So 13 Omens. What are we getting into with this? That's I think my real question. Like, what exactly are we doing with it? Like, is it is this a full RPG? Is this like a sort of an RPG? Is this going to be super rules light? How easy is it going to be for me to make stuff? Granted, this is a preview copy, right? So I don't fucking know. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. So CT, August. Nope. Okay, I need to make one for August. It's the first August show. So let's let me make a Corpse Talk live. I'm gonna do a new one. CT live, and this is gonna be today. Today, I say. Today. And this will be August 2026. August 2026. So, I'm curious as to what this turns out like. I love that they have a website. So, let's talk about that, I guess, before we go through this. Let me just pull up Chrome here. So, goodbye. So, this is the 13 Omens website. Are you ready for the Are you ready to be lost in the dark? Experience a horror role-playing game that draws you into the darkness, asking you face your fears and venture in the unknown. You put your name in here, right? It's like when I put my email address in here, you ready your flashlight, it goes to here, and it says you can reserve now. But I was having problems with the reserve where it gives me this fee, this thing up here. They're looking into it. I don't know how it's going to turn out. This art though is awesome. It's really cool. So I'm curious to see what they do with it. This is the 13 Omens website. I'll drop it in here so anybody else can look at it. I couldn't get it to work. Cover's giving me the Ghostbusters vibe. Ghost looks like the ghost from the Ghost. Yeah, it does. The librarian, yeah. A little bit. So that's what that is. All right, so 13 Omens is what we're going to look at. I'm curious to see what this is as good as I think it's going to be. Jason Bullman's a really good designer. Paizo and them really don't fuck around. I'll do a review version of it afterwards. This art's fantastic. Super fun, right? Super fun. Inside cover. I still think that this should have data on the inside cover. I feel like while I love having the cool marbly wallpaper in it and the look and feel, I would rather have information and have this be the background there. That's just me. Is it hyperlinked? It is not hyperlinked. It's a preview copy. It's a preview. It's a preview copy. I'm just going to keep telling myself that. No big deal. So what do we have here? Table of contents, Lost in the Dark, introduction, gameplay, creating a character, hosting a story, The Haunting of Hollybrook. Game designed by Jason Bullman. Here, we know what we need to do. Hold on here, everybody. Edit. My boy. Right? Let's get our pink out. Jason Bullman. Haven't seen him in a while. Jason, please come to GameholeCon this year. Eric Mona and Thurston, really good peeps. Know them fairly well. Been talking to them for years. I do not know Joe. I don't know Adam Vick by name. Maybe I know him by who he is. All the artists that are involved in this, I recognize a couple in there. All the playtesters. Adam Daigle, we obviously all know Adam Daigle. Cosmo, he's awesome. I barely got to talk to him at Gen Con this year. And then some more art. This art is very storyteller feeling of like old school books. I like this art a lot. Lost in the Dark. So what is this about? I should have brought extra batteries. The tiniest tinge of panic cracked Luke's voice. Is it Chandra? Chandra slapped the flashlight against her palm, hoping the light would stop flickering. That's not how that works. I watch horror movies. That's not how that works. Hoping the light would stop flickering. Dude had been in the Blackstone caves for well over 2 hours now, but the light had started to fail just a few minutes ago. Chandra let out a grunt. The flashlight seemed to be working for now. I think we're lost. Sitemap said that this was a 1 hour excursion. Are you sure we're still in the main cave? Luke pulled out the map. And as he examined it, a worried expression darkened on his face. I don't know. I haven't seen any markers in a while. I think we should turn back. Two sat and stared at the map of the nearby caves for 10 minutes before realizing they were not entirely sure which way to go. The darkness seemed to be growing, closing in. The flashlight was dying. Picking a path, the pair scrambled forward at a frantic pace through the warm and humid condensation-slick tunnel. They were practiced spelunkers, but in their haste, they both collected more than one scrape and bruise as they raced against their dying light source. Without warning, Chandra lost her footing and fell to the ground, taking Luke down with her. They landed in a heap, crying out in pain. But as the echo died away and the breath steadied, they heard it. Something was there moving out in the dark, and they could hear the rocks shifting and sliding in the distance. Far more troubling was the wet, squelching sound that accompanied the shuffling, echoing down the dark passageway. Chandra held her breath and covered Luke's mouth just as he was about to speak. The sound seemed to be getting closer. What the fuck is that? What is that thing? Wetly crawling through the fucking cave. So I already like where this is going. I like the story lead up. That's fun. This art is fucking stupendous, actually. Let's see if we can get this full thing on screen. Super cool. I love the sketchy and yet painterly style. So here's the introduction. This is what we're looking for, everybody. This is the introduction. Everything in this world should not be dark places that should not be explored, and secrets that should remain unknown. 13 Omens is a horror role-playing game that reveals those mysteries and asks you to experience the consequences faced by those who step in the darkness. In 13 Omens, you take on one of two roles in telling a terrifying horror story. One player is the host who narrates a story, educates the rules of play, calls for checks, and meets out the consequences. Okay, cool. Looks like an elder demon companion to me. Yeah, it kind of does. I always think of the Skrillex video with the little girl. and the fucking shadow creature. That's what I always think of. Ask you to experience consequences faced by those who stepped into the dark. In 13 Omens, you take on one of two roles in a terrifying tale of story. Yeah, I already read that. Everyone else is at the table is a player who takes on the role of a character. Oh, shit. Let's see here. During play, whoever... This is all the basic stuff. Okay, so here's where we're getting to the other stuff. During play, whenever a character is in danger or their actions in doubt, the character player draws between 2 to 4 six-sided dice from the bag that contains 8 safe dice and 1 or more omen dice. Oh. Okay. At the start of play, there are 13 omen dice in front of the host. But as the story progresses and the tension grows, the host adds more omen dice to the bag. Drawing the omen dice and rolling poorly on them leads to death and despair, so beware when reaching into the bag. So that means you have 2 to 4 six-sided dice that contain 8 safe dice and 1 or more omen dice. Okay, so this is like a combination of Fiasco's Turn and a little bit of the omen rules from Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is, to this day, still my favorite board game. After 3 acts of play, the characters have either vanquished the evil or have been overcome by its malevolence. This is the preview of the 13 Omens game, containing the core rules and story designed to be played in a single evening of horrifying fun. The full game is set to be released in early 2027, including complete rules of play, guidelines on how to make your own stories, and several additional thrilling tales of terror. Interested in learning more, visit 13omens.com. This should have been hyperlinked. That should be hyperlinked. There should be an external hyperlink to take you to it. Sign up for the campaign alerts and join the crowdfunder when it launches in October 2026. Okay, so this is going on in October. All right. Content consideration. 13 Omens is a horror role-playing game dealing with mature topics that are worth talking. Basically, be a fucking adult. You should take time to discuss content. Yeah, we already know that. My audience already is aware that this is a rated R channel, right? You guys all know this is rated R, right? You know by now? You don't have to... I need a rated R button. I need to make a big rated R button that makes a noise that I can throw on screen. It seems necessary to me. Or we need a rated R Streamloot one. Something. Make a note for myself here, actually. I'm a dumbass for never making it. How have I not, everybody, made a rated R button? What the fuck am I thinking? What am I thinking? Rated R button S-Deck noise. Done. That's getting added. Help! I need an adult. Probably do. At least rated R. It's rated R more. I mean, NC-17, unrated, whatever. Actually, I consider my stuff 80s R. 80s R. That's how I would consider my storytelling style, is 80s R. Maybe even some 90s R, right? Really? How long has it been rated R? Kyle, forever. Forever. Story aspects. In addition to these 5 core aspects, each character... Oh, so I skipped some shit. I'm a dumb fuck. Story-focused role-playing game. The players describe their actions to speak out the character, speak for the character, blah, 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 blah. We know that. When action comes to danger, the host may call for a check with one of the character's aspects, in which they roll dice to determine whether they succeed. Each character is rated in 10 different aspects. 5 of these are core aspects that are common to every game of 13 Omens. 5 core concepts are printed below: courage, evade, fight, luck, and perception. The more I've been playing OSR style games, the less I want perception in a game. I want, man, this is such a weird, I've switched on this so much from 3.0 to nowadays. And I think the reason that I've switched is I like the players to be able to be smart above board, above table, and it to be brought into the game for making smart decisions. And I find that perception checks become the thing where players just ask to make a perception to find something because they don't want to think, right? And I feel like games should be some part of intelligence. Yes, dude. Frank House has been rated R since day one-ish. Kyle says since birth. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I feel like I don't like perception checks that much in it. Notice unusual orders, detect a poison in a drink. Was often roll perception check, trying to notice something is up. But if someone's like, I'm going to check the drink, what's it smell like? I'm like, well, it smells slick with oil and almost an ammonia smell. And they're like, I am not drinking that. I would rather have that than a perception check. To me, that interaction is better story. But sometimes the mechanic is required in games, so benefit of the doubt. In addition to these 5 core concepts, each character is also rated in 5 story aspects. These are specific to individual story and are usually central to characters and the plot of the narrative. Love it. So basically making aspects or story skills. Love that. Aspect ratings, a character's rating determines what target number, or TN for short, that they need to roll to succeed at a task governed by that aspect. For example, a character trying to flee from a knife-wielding killer might make an evade check to see if they can get away unharmed. If their evade rating is good, they would need to roll a 5 or higher to succeed. And with that, we're reaching into a bag and pulling out dice. So hold on. All right. Remember how I said I have a bunch of dice? Let me get rid of these horrible dice. Okay. Get rid of these. That means all your dice have to be the same size and same color. So you have to buy from the same set or you're going to know when you reach in and grab them what they are. Right? So, I do have those dice he was rolling. Right? And I have some from Warhammer, old Warhammer dice. Right? So, the way I understand this is we need the same dice, though. So the best way to do this would be to buy a 2 boxes of Chessex dice because they're the same style and use those, which, technically speaking, I have over here. I have my Boba Fett ones. My Mando ones. So, what did it say we do? 8 to 10 in there, so we'll figure it out when we go. But I'm gonna have some here, and we'll test the rules out, right? So, target number for short, good. Checks whenever a character attempts to do something where their outcome is, I hate splits like this in a book. The task is dangerous. The host calls for a check. Aspects while assigning a difficulty check. The difficulty adjusts the target number that the player needs to roll to succeed on the check. For example, a hard task increases difficulty by 1. Why are you... So in game design, I have found being at a table between running Cypher System and running Deadlands and all these other games with a time frame, while having these tasks, these numbers, right? Where it's great to terrible. Because it sounds like you're rolling those and you need to be able to add up. I'm guessing with 2 dice to that number, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, right? What is difficult is when you say, oh, well, it's a hard check. Because it says the difficulty adjusts the target number that the player needs to roll to succeed on a check. For example, a hard task increases the difficulty 1. So this is the aspect rating table, and this is difficulty. So now you're raising it up and down, basically up to -2 or up to +2. I don't think that the average hard, very easy, that, I don't know. I guess the terms are there. I don't think it really helps sell it. The -1, -2, +1, +2 does a better job of that, but we'll see how it goes. So, The toast typically describes the result of the check, explaining how the character managed to succeed or what causes them to fail, depending on the nature of the check. There might be additional rewards, complications, or even injuries. After making a check, all the dice are returned to the bag. When possible, exception, check, all the dice are returned to the bag, with the possible exception of one omen dice. See omen dice on page 8 for more details. Edges. Sometimes a character might have a perfect tool for the task, or have help from an outside source, including the characters. This is called edge. Okay, so this is important to us, right? Like, this is our important number. If a character has edge, they draw one extra die from the bag, then roll all dice and add them together. The two highest hold on. They roll all the dice and add together the two highest results to determine the outcome of the bag. Any check can have up to 2 edges, but they must come from different types of assistance. A good tool and an outside aid would count. So this is important. So my question is, if you're drawing from the bag, don't you have the chance of drawing another omen die? If you have a perfect tool, why would I want that edge? Multiple people helping. A player can decide to forego drawing any additional dice from any edges they have, but they must decide before drawing. I mean, I guess that's the risk. I guess the risk is you are pulling an edge, but you also have a chance of pulling an omen die. Flaws, in some cases, conditions or environment would be working against a character. This is called a flaw. If a character has a flaw, they draw one extra die from the bag, then roll all the dice and add together the 2 lowest results. Oh. Wait. Did we read this wrong? Is this just advantage and disadvantage? This says they add an extra die and take the 2 lowest. And this says they add an extra die. Oh, so if you would draw 4 for your skill and you reach in and you would draw another one for your edge, you would take 4. If you have an edge, you would take the 2 highest dice and add them together. In this case, I would have a 10. Or you would take the 2 lowest dice. I see, says me. Let's move this over. Yeah. It's because I'm probably not reading this in a 2-page spread. I feel like this is made to be read in a 2-page spread, maybe? So here, I'm going to put this about here. I'll move this over. And we'll move this. And then I will grab... I need to find a fun, tiny rolling tray. Right? I mean, I use this for most of my stuff, but... So it sounds like you would pull it out and you would roll 4 + 1 for advantage. If that was the case, if with positive, we would take the 2 highest. This would give us an 11. But if we were rolling and we had to take the 2 lowest, this would give us a 3. It's like if you weren't athletic or something, right? That would be my guess. We'll do this. We'll make this make sense. Let's go like this. We'll put it on the 13 Omens book. Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So with that said, let's get the dice out of here. Broken tool could be a full box of broken tools. Counts as one. Canceling out edges and flaws. If a character has both edge and flaws in a single roll, they cancel each other out for the one. And none remaining. Only the edges and flaws. Wait. Or none remaining. Only edges and flaws. Any remaining edges or flaws are applied as normal. If a character has both edge and flaw on a single roll, they cancel each other out, 1 for 1, until there are none remaining or only edges and flaws remain. Okay. We pulled our 4 dice. We pull an extra one for our edge, right? Edge or flaw. Let's say we have 1 edge from a tool, 1 edge from a... 1 edge from a tool, 1 edge from someone assisting us, but it's raining out, that's a flaw, and we lost a shoe. That's a flaw. They would totally cancel out and there would be nothing. Any remaining edges and flaws are applied as normal. This is worded weird. This whole section to me is worded a little weird. My understanding is we're reaching into a bag, pulling out dice, and hitting a target number. Do we have a character? What do we have, page 9? Let's find a character in here. Hold on. I want a character sheet. Where's our character sheet? There has to be a pre-gen in here somewhere, right? Most of this is going to be a story. We don't want to look at the story. Here we go. Here's a character. So this is a true believer. Goal, do anything with purpose. Possible personality traits. Relations with the characters. The face. Go for supreme. They haul stuff around. Local fan. Tech specialist. Films and records everything. Okay. So now, I think this is probably your damage tracker. Your courage, your rating, your TN. You probably apply stuff to these. So hold on. Maybe in character creation will explain this. Anytime I have to scroll through a book further in to figure out what they mean by something, I usually feel like maybe you didn't explain the rules in an order that makes sense. You know what I mean? This is the Haunting of Hollybrook. So these are the pre-mades. And it doesn't have anything other than charm. So story, charm, Ghost Stormer's lore, mechanics, occultism, technology, right? Perks, choose any 2. Gear. Okay. Target number is 4 for her for charm. That's what she's good at. So if we had an edge, because someone was holding a camera and we're interviewing the person, right? And we don't know our stats though. The fuck is our stats? How many dice do you pull out? Do you always only pull out 2 dice? Did we miss something here, everybody? Let me go back to 9. Let's go back to the dice. Whenever a character attempts to do a check, I really wish this wasn't cut off, or in doubt, task is dangerous. The host calls for a check of one of the aspects, while also assigning a difficulty to that task. So let's say I say it's difficulty nothing. It's just average. Making a check. The player reaches in the dice and draws out 2, always 2 dice. 2 random dice. Okay? 2 random dice from the bag. Important. They roll those and add them together. And I have to beat a 4. I got a 4. If the number exceeds the target, you got to be higher than the target number. So I failed. I need a 5 or higher. So it's like Cyberpunk, where you got to roll over the number, right? If it's equal to, it's a success with some sort of a small consequence. Okay, so a 4 would have been like you did it, but the beginning part of your interview is statically, they missed the name of the person when it goes live. The host typically describes the result of the check. So that means if we go back to here, with edge, you're pulling additional dice for each edge. All right, this makes way more sense now. I really wish they had a little dice thing here, kind of like we got. Remember when we were looking at Outgunned, how they stack everything together and teach it to you? I think this needs a teaching diagram to make it easier. So that means, in this case, if we pull a dice cam up, and we had, let's say the story has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these in here, right? And then there's like 2 omen dice at this point in the story, and you shake them up, right? And you would reach into this thing, and then you would blind pull. I have 1 edge, I'm going to blind pull 1 dice. That's what I have. And if I have an edge, I would take the 2 highest, and that's what we have. If I had a flaw, I'd take the 2 lowest, and I still would have made it. But if I would have had an extra edge, I'd have pulled another edge out with it, and then I would have rolled it with that. If I had a bonus, I'd take the 2 highest. If I didn't, I'd take the 2 lowest. That would have been an equal with it. All right. Makes sense now. Makes sense. We're good. We're golden grams now. We can continue on. Creepy doll with organs. Or worms? Fuck, I don't know. That's fucked up. Omen dice. Whenever a character makes a check, any safe dice drawn are rolled and returned to the bag without additional effects. Omen dice are treated differently. Omen dice represent the growing power of evil. So this is straight up for Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is great. It's a great mechanic. Represent the growing power of evil. Drawing them as part of a check means that there is a sudden risk of serious harm to the character. These dice are typically red, but you can use any color. They're clearly different than the safe dice. At the start of each session, 13 Omen dice sit in front of the host. As the story unfolds, these dice are added to the bag or directly to player checks. Oh. Thanks, JD. Thank you. I thought it made more sense as well. And also, that means that if you would have had 2 flaws that came out, like if you had 2 flaws and 1 bonus, you would be pulling 1 extra dice. I think it's just broken up in too many sections. They need a sample piece. That is my recommendation, is to have a sample. Whenever a character makes a check, any safe dice are drawn. So I get 13 Omen dice as the host to add to the bags. At the start of each session, 13 dice sit in front of the host where they unfold. These are added to the bag or directly to player checks. The fewer Omen dice there are in front of the host, the more danger the characters face. Omen dice can be added to play in the following ways. Story. When the events of a story take a turn for the worse and the power of evil grows, the host can add 1 Omen dice to the bag. Facing evil. When a character directly interacts with that evil that surrounds them, the host can add an Omen die directly to the check as a flaw. If they have an edge to cancel out this flaw, they simply draw 1 fewer die from the bag. So that means, if we go back to the board, and they draw their 2 dice, and they have an edge. So that means before they draw. So if this was all in the bag, right? And I already have 2 Omen dice in here. And I have Omen dice in front of me. Like, let's say this is 3 of my 13, right? That are left. Like, these are 3 of my 13 that are left. And I go, let's say the scene is that same interview. We'll go with the interview scene with the face. She's got target number 4. And the interview is interviewing the person who owns the house that we're about to go into. We have the static in the beginning. It goes bad. And he looks to her, and one of his eyes, like, wanders away, and a fly crawls out. I'm like, I'm going to introduce an Omen die into this, because that is a tall tale sign of the fly Lord of the Flies, right? And they're like, well, I have a perk to interviewing. I'm not even going to flinch at that. I have an edge to that. They're like, all right, so that doesn't get drawn. So according to this, when you're facing it, if they have an edge to cancel out this flaw, they simply draw 1 fewer die from the bag. So I use that die. My question is, where does this Omen die go? I'm assigning an Omen. So they add an edge after drawing the dice in the bag, return the safe die to the bag. An Omen die is added in this way, must be rolled as part of the check. They add an edge at the draw. Hold on here. Let's read this out loud. If they have an edge to cancel out the flaw, they simply draw 1 fewer die from the bag. If they gain edge after drawing dice from the bag, return a safe die to the bag if able. What the fuck is this? When a character directly interacts with evil that surrounds them, the host can add an Omen die directly to the check as a flaw. If they have edge to cancel out this flaw, they simply draw 1 fewer die from the bag. Right, because you always draw 2. If they had an edge, and I give them an Omen, that means they're still only drawing 2. If they gain an edge after drawing dice from the bag, how does that happen? So if I draw 2 of my dice from here, and I end up with my 2 ability dice, these, right? If I have 2 of these, that is my roll for the check, and we wash them out. Draw fewer dice in the bag. If they you can gain edge after the dice. Okay, so now I need a checklist of when edge and flaw can be applied. Because if I already rolled this and I fail, let's say I roll a 1 and a 3 and it's a draw because I'm a 4 and that fly is crawling out of the eye, and I do flinch because of whatever reason. It hits me, right? Flies off and hits me. At a 4, that means there's a complication. But does that mean that the cameraman could aid me in that moment and give me a die to aid outside the bag? Because if they gain an edge after drawing dice from the bag, you're like, whoa, hold on. I'm going to aid. If there's anything weird, I'll make sure the camera picks up the background or something else instead of what's going on. Does that then add an edge to this dice roll afterwards? This part here, where's it at? Edge after the bag. Hopefully we see something later on that explains this. Character death. Omen dice are used to track the harm done to a character. If a character dies or otherwise succumbs to evil, all omen dice in front of them are returned to the bag. So, do the players keep the omen dice in front of them similar to Betrayal at House on the Hill? So if I pull out and draw 2 dice and one of them is an omen die, like this, and I roll this, and I take the 2 lowest, which is a 4, I still would meet it. Do I then track by keeping that omen die in front of my character? Am I understanding this properly? And that shows wound and fear. So anytime you roll, do I keep it if I fail? Or do I keep it if I draw it from the bag? That's my question. You know what I mean? I like the premise. No, there hasn't been yet. We'll see what we find when we go through. So omen dice are used to track harm done to the character. If a character dies or otherwise succumbs to evil, all the omen dice in front return to the bag. So that's cool. It cycles, death cycles the badness back in. Omen dice are rolled just like any other die and are used to calculate the outcome of a check. However, omen dice are also determine whether the character was harmed in the process. If the result of any omen dice is equal to or less than the current act of the story, for example, so it's just like Betrayal at House. So the way it works, for those who haven't played Betrayal, I think I see where this mechanic was yanked from. The way it works in Betrayal at House on the Hill, when you go into a room at Betrayal House on the Hill, you may draw an omen card. When that omen card is drawn, omen dice are given to you. If 2 omen dice are found, on the dice rolls you have to roll on 2d6 over that omen number. So I rolled a 10. I'm over 2. But if the omen we are at is we're currently at the count of 7, and I roll a 4, that means the haunt begins. That's how Betrayal at the House on the Hill works. You are counting how many omens have been drawn throughout the haunted house to determine when the actual event happens. It's like a built-in pressure cooker, a timer that explodes when you finally fail that roll because so many of the omens have been found in the house, it gets fucking difficult. All right? I think that 13 Omens is doing the same thing, but instead of tracking what the difficulty is based on how many omens are found, they're tracking how far you are in the story to make sure that the story is the triggering event. So if we are currently at Act 3, according to what we're looking at in here, the omen die result is 2 or less in Act 2. After the check is resolved, one of the omen dice is removed from play and placed in front of the character who rolled it. So we get back to that scene where I pulled one and I pulled an omen dice. Even if it's an edge, and that's what I pulled out of the bag, I would roll this. I take the 6 and the 3 together. I'm successful. But my omen die was a 3. If I'm in Act 3, that means that I take that out and somehow I am wounded in that scene. All right. I like it. It's story progression. It makes sense. Overall, it makes sense. So, the way this functions, according to this, omen dice equal to or less the current act in the story is 2 or more in Act 2. That's this part. After the check is resolved, one of the omen dice is removed from play and placed in front of the character. There's only 13 dice in total. There's almost so much pressure you can do. Someone's going to die. This is called a wound. This represents some form of harm as benefiting the narrative. It might be physical, psychological nature, but it makes sense for whatever was being tempted. So the omen fly, like if in a scene we were making, that fly flies off. Yes, the cameraman may have turned and like picked up the house to make sure it doesn't ruin the scene, but it hits her in the fucking eye and like scratches it. And she's constantly rubbing her eye the entire time. Maybe it's like slowly infecting. With that said, or maybe, oh my God, maybe it's faceting, getting facets in it, like a fly's eye, but it's slow. So this represents some form of harm or psychological damage. It would make sense for whatever that's being attempted. Omen dice whose result are greater than the act of the story are returned to the bag along with the safe dice. So if I would roll a 5, I'd be like, get fucked. This doesn't affect me. And you put it back in there. I like it. I think some clarity and order need to be done. And I think a cheat sheet would go far. But again, everyone, we got to remember, this is a preview. This is the whole point of the preview. A character can never receive more than 1 wound from the result of a check. Even if multiple omen dice are rolled, it would only result in 1 wound. Excess omen dice return. So you can never get more than 1 wound. Although I bet you there's some monsters that can fuck you. Like if, let's say they get the Friday the 13th franchise, since now that's out. Friday the 13th has a huge license now for the world of Jason or whatever it's called. That you might be able to get a hold of it. And maybe that guy does like 2 omen dice of damage because he's a fucking murderer, right? Something like that. Character can receive more than 1 wound from result of check, even a multiple omen dice. What's up, buddy? I'm looking at it right now. Speak of the writer. Going through it right now. I see some likenesses to some games I really enjoy. I see some Betrayal at House on the Hill with Omen and how you're doing that. What we were discussing is the flaws and the pieces that are being pulled out. And the final copy having a cheat image of how you pull dice. We're not through it yet. Maybe that's later in the book. So we're just talking as we go. Character can never receive more than 1 wound from the result of the check, even if multiple omen dice are rolled. I love that. Once a character has 3 omen dice in front of them, they are seriously wounded or seriously hurt and reach the depths of despair and take a flaw on all checks. The flaw counts as a different source from all other flaws, including those caused by strain. So this is another term we haven't learned yet for the game. Take a flaw on all checks. This flaw counts. Oh, wow. So 3 omen, you just always have a flaw. And that, I bet you that, so back where we were talking about trying to figure this part out, where the order of where you get your edges and flaws, I bet you this is that flaw that you get after you pull out of the bag. Even if I pull 2 dice out of this bag that are these, and I pull an omen dice, because I have a flaw die, because of being wounded 3 times, if I have, let me grab another wounded one out of here as an indicator. Where are you at, you fat fucking die? So even if I've taken 3 wounds at this point, and I have these 3 omens on my character sheet, because of that, I now have a flaw all the time when I'm doing. Unless I have a way to overcome that flaw, now I need assistance or a tool. When I roll these, I'm going to be taking the 2 lowest no matter what. Makes sense to me. The original benevolent GM. Jason Bowman has said he was benevolent for numerous years when he was running his live show. And I can tell you, that is a lie. That's no benevolence. There's no actual benevolence. Oh, the joke. So that's how we get that extra flaw. That makes a little more sense on how that functions now. Explained on page 11, this can be canceled by an edge. Right, again, if that cameraman, again, was recording it, the fly hit me in the eye, that fly is slowly giving me like a fly-like eye. I'm getting facets. He's going to make sure he always shoots me from the right-hand side. And as he's shooting from the right-hand side, that eye won't be seen. That's how he's aiding me in the scene, and that would cancel out that flaw that I have for that scene. But that's taking somebody else's action in the scene to make it happen. So cheating death. cheating death. Anytime when a character would be place an omen die in front of themselves, they instead place a safe die. This doesn't count towards the death and despair, but it does remove that die from the bag, making it more likely that others will draw an omen die. Oh my god. So that means if you're like, no, I'm going to cheat death. And in that talk, when I was pulling stuff out, I'm like, I don't want this third fucking omen dice. I don't want this. I'm going to take a safe die out of the bag and fuck us that way. But that means that I won't have this flaw yet, leaving us in a better state of play. But that means that there's still an omen die in there, depending on the scene. Maybe it's your charismatic person. You need her to do all the interviews in here. She already has a fucked up eye. She's taken 2 wounds. She doesn't want to bury herself and look like the Fly from the movie. So we're going to cut that out and we're going to take a safe die instead. I like that. That's a great way. There's some gambling and player choice. And you know I love a Frank House dilemma. So if I could put a Frank House dilemma in the game through mechanics, sold. So that's what we're doing for that. This does not count towards. A character cannot cheat death if their roll did not include any safe dice. So if you pulled out all of those dice earlier and none of them were a safe die, you're fucked. You can't do it. But if you at least pulled one, you can keep the safe die instead. I like that. That makes sense. The player has 3 omen dice in front of them and they draw 1 more omen die as part of a check. They can declare that they intend to valiantly sacrifice their character for the sake of the others. In this case, they don't roll the dice, and instead they automatically succeed at the check. So this is that idea of giving player agency, but really, I don't like to see it as player agency. I know that is what a lot of people are going to say. To me, it's about building a narrative as a group, and this is that point in the movie where the person is sacrificing themselves so the rest can survive. And that is way more important to me than the idea of it being, well, player agency. It's more about telling a good story together. I think player agency is important in certain things. For this is definitely more of a narrative-based game, and that's what this is going to do. Let's see here. Sacrifice a character for the sake, but doing so, their character suffers some final terrible wound, is removed from play. All of their omen dice and the dice drawn as part of the roll are thrown back in the bag. They die, the tension lessens, but then those omen dice are back into it. Jason, does that mean that omen dice that the GM gives to them also go back into the die pool? Because I read earlier that a GM has 13 in front, and I could be like, no, during your roll, add this die. Does that go back into the bag if it was one of those moments? I would assume it would. Death and despair. Whenever a player has a 4th omen die in front of them, their character succumbs to the wounds and falls into despair. That character can no longer participate in the story, and all their dice in front of them are returned to the bag. In some stories, a player can assume by taking on the role of another character. If all the characters perish in this way, evil is triumphant, and the story draws to a close. I would love to do a stage show of this where if I kill somebody, like if I was doing like Phantasm, I'd be like, come sit next to me. You're now one of the silver balls, and have them sit next to me, and they have omen dice to hand out during a scene. I think that'd be fun as hell to do. Imagine the pressure of having a player sit with the GM. That'd be super fun for a live show, for a stage performance. Great art again. Just a jar of keys, barbed wired down. Yeah, that's normal. That's normal. Barbed wired keys. Those typically describes the way in which the character perishes, but in the case of a valiant sacrifice, the player can detail the way in which the character dies. All dice go back in the bag except for those that represent wounds on the character and the ones in front of the host waiting to be added to the play. Gotcha. So, really, the wounds don't go back in the bag? I thought earlier it said wounds go back in the bag if they die. Am I crazy? Wounds represent some harm, benefiting the narrative, psychological. Huh, I thought for sure I read that somewhere. Okay, so you're saying that the ones in front of them never go back. Even if they die, they don't go back. Okay. I'll go back in the bag, except for those that represent the wounds. Character and host. For me, because I'm going to do, I don't know if you've been around for this, Jason, but afterwards, I'm going to do a quick 15-minute version of this. and make sure that I have I've read through it enough to where I can talk about it intelligently. And then I'll do a quick 15-minute overview that I can just add to YouTube as its own video. All the Roman dice go back, okay. Just on death. Just on death. Gotcha. Okay, so I was reading it right. Got to read the whole map, not just the parts you like. Just doing that, so I have notes for myself. Perfect. Thanks. What do we got after this? Death and Despair, Jar. Host typically describes the way, or maybe even like if the player wants to do it, I'd probably let him too, depending on the scene. If you know this person loves horror movies. Failed checks. Failure check is always accompanied by some sort of cost or drawback. Most often, this is a simple failure to accomplish a specific objective, like opening a stuck door or translating an ancient piece of text. Other times, it might just result in a lost opportunity, failing to acquire a useful tool, or the lack of knowledge. In some rare cases, the host might decide that you succeed at your attempt task anyway, but you suffer some other drawback instead. Often happens in a risky check. Oh, buddy, now we're getting into a little bit of the blades in the dark, you know, how that's evolved over the years, where you got your different levels of difficulty. Desperate actions, what is it? It's controlled, risky, and desperate in blades. Desperate would give you experience no matter what. We'll see what it does. Risky does in this. Some checks carry an inherent risk of danger or injury, like trying to jump across a chasm or attempting to wrestle a knife from a killer's grasp. Yeah, you're going to get stabbed. The host can then, at their discretion, declare that the check is risky, meaning that failure carries additional consequences. If the character fails a risky check, they suffer some form of drawback. This most typically is a strain to one aspect, or the lost piece of gear, likely due to being broken, or like you stab the killer and it doesn't hurt him and you run away, you lose your knife, so on and so forth. If a piece of gear is lost or broken, the host selects a piece of gear that makes sense based on the circumstances. It might be possible to repair this item to find it later, but this isn't guaranteed. Strain. Characters in 13 Omens can be harmed in many ways, so this is where we're getting into strain. We heard about this earlier, we're learning about it now. Let's see here. Serious injuries and death come from omen dice. Lesser wounds that result from the failed risky checks often result in strain. The character takes a strain. The host describes your injury or trauma and assigns it to one of the character's aspects. Okay, so that's what we talked about earlier. Aspects are the 5 you start with and the 5 story ones. Whenever a character makes a check using an aspect, they take a flaw. So like if you sprain your ankle, twist it back, double vision, perfect. For that woman, anything that's perception-based because her eye is all fractional and it's weird now like a fly, she would now have a flaw in the things she's doing because she has a strain on her perception. Totally makes sense. A strain might cause a loss of 1 perk is another option. Remember at the bottom of those sheets we saw there were perks, which we'll get into when we go back to it, especially if it was utilized as part of a risky roll. All right, makes sense to me. Character might go to great lengths to alleviate strain using the aspects or gear, such as bandaging a sprained ankle or taking a powerful painkiller for a twisted back. Twisted back, no more than 1 strain can be removed at a time. So it's using one thing to relieve another. Character can gain both strain and wound as part of the same check. That's fucking deadly. That means you're taking a die and putting on your character sheet and taking a strain to something that's really bad. Like falling into the pit where the killer is. Just making your life horrible. Harmless checks. So this would be like controlled for me, since we've all played Blades in the Dark here on the channel. Sometimes a character doesn't pose any possible risk of injury or trauma. It's just a simple check. Players always roll. Players are the ones who roll to determine. Yeah, I noticed there's no GM rolls for this. You're just assigning target numbers as the narrator to make sure, as the host, to make sure that it keeps going. The host can declare checks to be harmless, meaning that even when an omen die is drawn as part of the action, it cannot result in a wound. If the omen die result is equal to or less than the current act, instead of taking a wound and placing an omen die in front of them, the character instead takes a strain on the aspect. So strain is like subdual damage from back in the day, or just taking fatigue in another game, like whatever system you're familiar with.
But basically, you're taking a strain to that aspect instead of taking a wound. Wound equals death. Strain just makes your job harder, right? So in that interview, I could have said that you're not going to take a wound, but you would take a strain because you're starting to shift and it's hard to see out of your eye. You're seeing fractionally out of it. Makes sense to me. Harmless rolls typically only occur in Act 1 or 2. By Act 3, the danger should be so great that failing most checks likely carries a deadly risk. We're also learning here that we're only getting 3 acts in most of these adventures. It's typical story writing. All right. Creating a character. So it sounds like we, in the preview, are also going to be able to do this. Characters for each story are made as part of the session. Each story opens with a brief introduction to give you the sense of who the characters are and what they are doing before the events of the story begin. Next, the host reads a simple synopsis of each character, the archetypes presented in the story. Think of these as character profiles that describe relevant details about their character in a broad, sweeping strokes. It is from these archetypes that the players create their specific character. For example, if a story revolves around a group of college students who get lost in the woods during a camping trip, the archetypes might be athlete, fraternity pledge, math scholar, musician, and teacher assistant. The player who plays a musician might make a character who is a wannabe pop sensation. Or there might be someone hoping to be in an orchestra. So you're basically getting these up front. You're getting the little brief, kind of like the rolling credits opening up, the names of it, you know, the different characters, and then below you would fade in the players that take those. I think that's a really cool idea. Who's interested in this character, and let them pick it as the credits are rolling in, and let them kind of pick the character they want to play. I'm seeing all this narrated like a TV show or a movie, personally. I think that's awesome. Once you've selected an archetype, you rate your aspects and select perks and choose some gear. Once this is done, all you need is to settle on a name, appearance, and any other details you need in your character. I did notice on the sheets there's areas to circle a lot of that stuff as well. My assumption is when you get your adventures, like the one that's here, you're going to see characters in them, like you have here, right? And then this will help it. If you're going to make your own story, you're going to need to pre-made a lot of this stuff and then hand those out to the players as they are picking their pieces. Maybe I'll run this during Halloween. Maybe I'll do a one-shot of one of these for Halloween. Because I think Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kickstarter's running over Halloween, correct? Or the backer kit, wherever you're doing it. I think it said October. All stories in 13 Omens feature several character archetypes that are relevant to a specific story. Each player selects one of those archetypes to form a basis of their character. Archetypes start off with a detailed description of their purpose and the role. So that's the characters that you're doing. You're playing your cast. I almost feel like you should say casts of archetype. Follow up by the suggested personality traits and the options of those characters based on the archetypes. Okay, personal goals, character strive. So this is going to give us our base thing. Flexible personality. Personality traits and options that are listed on the archetype are flexible. You should feel free to change these so you're playing something you like for the story. Aspect rating table. These are your aspect ratings from great to terrible, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10. Goals. The goals listed on the archetype gives your character a goal. Awesome. Run over Halloween. Perfect. Are you going to be at GameholeCon this year, Bowman? If you are, we should sit down and play. I'd love to actually play this. I know that Mona was talking about running it for me. Let's see here. Beyond the scope of the story of Central Concrete, there's no reward for accomplishing your goal, nor is there a penalty for failing to reach it. The point is to give your character a personal motivation. Okay, so your goal, what do you do? Aspect. These are your stats in this game. The core aspects, we already know. That's these here. Right? Awesome. Not this year? All right. These are all common, all 13 Omen types. Page 6 for the description of the core aspects. These are followed by 5 story aspects, which are custom to each 13 Omen story. Story aspects are directly related to the archetypes in each story, and each archetype is rated great in one of these aspects. So, okay. I would want bullet pointed to make the character creation easier. Unless, hold on here, before I say that. Does a character sheet say on it? No. Choose any of the traits listed and add your own bossy. Okay. Options. I'm just looking at characters and how they're built. All right. On the character sheet, I'd love that. But it says aspects are directly related to the characters in each story. Each archetype is rated great in one of these aspects to reflect their role in the story. So one aspect you have great. I guess it doesn't really need to be on there. It's just one and it's already assigned. So like the charm we saw on the person earlier was already in place. The first step is to rate your character's aptitude in each of these 5 core aspects. The ratings are terrible, bad, average, and good. Terrible, bad, average, and good. So you have 1 great and then 1 of each of these. So you're getting the gambit. So you're putting a 10, a 9, a 7, a 5, and a 4. Remember, that's your target number. Yeah, Mona will be there. I remember him saying something at Gen Con. So great. That means that, remember, if you get a 4 with whatever it is, you get it, but something happens. And then if you beat it, you get what you want. All right, so this is a very simple core aspects. You're just assigning these numbers. All right. I almost wish on the character sheet, just because players and GMs, if it had the numbers across the top, and you could just cross them off and assign them for people. Kind of like you do in like some other games where like, assign this many pips, do this kind of thing. When you finish, you should have ratings for all 10 aspects. Okay, so the next step is to repeat this process. So you're doing it twice. You're doing it once for the core and once for the stories. Awesome. When you finish, you should have ratings for all 10 aspects, and each different rating should appear twice. Yep, totally makes sense. Each rating is associated with a target number, TN for short, described in the aspect rating. When your character attempts an average task involving the aspect, the TN must be rolled equal to or greater to succeed. Record the target number next to the rating for each. Remember, those can be modified, everybody. Perks. Each archetype includes a variety of custom perks to flesh out the character, giving them some way to interact with the rules of the game. Carefully read through all the perks before selecting 2 of them to give to your character. Note that most perks can be used only during a specific circumstance or have a limit on usage. Perk says it can be used once per act. That means you're only going to get 3 per game. Makes sense to me. Perk grants an edge or removes a flaw. In addition, if perk grants an edge or removes a flaw from your check, and you don't notice it until after the roll is made, the perk cannot modify the results. So you cannot add a perk afterwards. You have to do it before you pull. You can return a die. You can return. Likewise, if you draw a dice from the bag and then notice a perk that removes a flaw, you can return a die to the bag, but it cannot be an omen die. Okay, so you basically can't stack the fates. You have to keep that omen, right? So here, this is pretty, this almost needs to be like a call-out box. This is really important. I think this is something that's commonly going to get missed when it is ran. A perk grants an edge or removes a flaw from the check. You do not notice it until the roll is made. The perk cannot modify the result. Likewise, if you draw a dice from the bag and then you notice a perk that removes the flaw, you can return the die to the bag, but it can't be the omen, right? So I think that's pretty important. Diversity in perks. Archetypes are often one or more perks that speak to similar parts of the game, like ability to ignore or remove strain or advantage to your character. While it might be tempting to focus on these perks, they fit the character's concept. Consider diversifying your perk selections to other facets of the game. That way you can expand your story. Yeah, I agree. Don't triple down. Don't min-max. This is basically just saying don't be a fucking min-maxer. This is narrative. Gear. After picking perks, review the gear list options provided with each character. The gear that is vital to the story is automatically given. So let's look at, again, I'm going to look at one that's in here. You find a character. So under gear here, it says your character starts with a waterproof watch. Automatic. Super important to have. And then there's a list of other ones that you can pull from. So how many do I get to pull from? The gear is most often used. Character can take up to 4 items from the list. Although some archetypes might give different numbers, and some perks might allow different choices. Can you choose them during the game? Is this kind of like flashbacks? In some cases, characters can take up to 4 items. Like, are they prepping or do they get to choose in the moment? That's a question I would have. I guess you got to choose up front. Might be a perk that changes that though. Like always prepared might be one where it's like pick one during the game session when it's needed. Gear is most often used during play to award a character an edge when attempting a check. We already know how that works, which is cool. When selecting the gear for your character, think how it might be used during play, but don't be afraid to take something that sounds fun for your character to have in mind. You'll never know the strangest items to save your life. That's true. And then finishing touches. Character creation's like fucking 4 pages. This is great. Choosing perks, select your gear. The only steps left to finish a character are give them a name, jot down a basic description of what you think they look like, get a feel of how you think their personality plays out during the story, kind of that moral compass. Feel free to make small adjustments to these notes as the game goes on. 13 Omens is a game about desperate people in terrifying situations trying to survive. Characters thrust in such situations are likely to react unpredictable at times. Once all characters are made, the story begins with the host reading the prologue. I see. Great minds. I figured there would be. The way it was worded, I kind of figured there would be. I like how simple these are. This is very clean. It kind of, now you got a breakdown of the character sheet, what each one of the parts are. Up here, this is that area where you are assigning your dice on your character sheet, your 4. And then you can write down your ratings and the target numbers and the strain. Pretty simple. Man, a digital character sheet for this on your phone, to be able to play this with not even having to have sheets, would be such an awesome thing to build as a stretch goal. I don't know if that's in the Gambit, but like, I always think of, hold on here. One of my favorite travel games of all time is Weave, if you've never played it. And this comes with dice and tarot cards in it that you scan with your phone to make your stories. I love this. They were supposed to put out a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all these other things. You can see the challenge decks that are here. All of this was cards in front with some dice, and then your character sheet was on your phone. I fucking adore this. I would love to see an app for this game to be able to build characters quickly, and then you could buy story packs later on to advance, because with something like this, you got to try to get IPs that are out there. You have thoughts for that? Bowman, if you have never seen Weave, it was made from Monocle Society. I know the gentleman who owned it. I think he originally worked for D&D Beyond and helped write that stuff, or vice versa. I can't remember the story. But if you haven't seen Weave, highly, highly recommend checking that out, because it definitely could be improved on. You know what I mean? It was made quite some time ago, but it would be dope. Joe's playing a game of 13 Omens with some friends. Involves the characters getting abducted while riding a subway and being forced to play a series of deadly games. Whoop, little Saw, baby. After listening to the archetype summaries, Joe decides to play an office worker. After reading through the text, Joe wants to create a burnt out coder, desperate for change in his life. I have Weave, no worries, they're good. So you know what I'm talking about. The potential for Weave was so high. It really, really was. It did drain the fuck out of your battery on your phone, though. They needed to find a way to kind of make that easier. I'm gonna sit down. I've been standing this whole time. Let's see it. Let's see it. I know you own a bunch of games. You're like me. Try as many as you can, learn from them. You know what I mean? Better to design. Next up are story aspects. Computers is already rated great. So Joe assigns the other 4 ratings and aspects, decided to be good and good at trivia. Next, Joe gets to pick 2 perks from his list. Joe picks Cube Dweller and Messenger Bag, both of which sound like they are going to be useful in the story. I'm guessing Messenger Bag is going to be one of those things. You can cram a lot into these bags. You start with 6 items instead. That's cool. In addition, you can add any one item to the list as long as it's small enough to fit in the bag. Dope. Cool. Pick 6 pieces of gear. Messenger Bag perk adds 1 item not to the list. Joe thinks a pocket knife might come in handy. I love the Mothership app. The Mothership app's really good. I think that the Monty Cook Games character building one was good. It got so crunchy and complex, though, it got a little hard to use. The old Numenera one was really smooth. But just the ability to drop things down and fill things out and then share it in a local area net, like a local Wi-Fi network, between the host and the players would be a great way to be able to play this on the fly. I think that would be a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, I still want the books and PDFs for running in person, but if I just want to pick up and play this game anywhere, that would be a great way to do it. Then you can just download that stuff on. So if I were to download 13 Omens Bequeathed it would add all those drop downs in for the characters, and you could say this is what we're playing. Here's the options, and then especially if you could click them and like display them for the characters, and then it all pulls up on the screen like Jackbox, and someone's like, I'm playing this character, and they select it. I think that'd be a really fun way to handle that kind of stuff. After deciding on a name and personality, Camila Rodriguez is ready to play. Awesome. Love this art. This thing's creepy as fuck. And then there's rules for hosting a story. Content considerations. I mean, you got to have this for some people, like of what's going on. It has to be here. I'm not too worried with the people I run with, but if I was running at a convention, I would definitely talk about it. I believe in themes. I like putting 3 themes at the top of what I'm doing. So if I was running, going back to that idea of the fly again, I would say body horror, swearing, and body horror, swearing, and I would say like partial nudity because he's nude in one of the pods, you know, something along those lines. Death, murder and death, you know, that kind of thing, and putting the theme so they know what they're getting into. Telling the story 13 Omens is a complete story meant to be played in a single setting. Before players begin, the host should review the story. When you're planning on playing, make sure to read overall structure and to familiarize themselves of individual scenes and make the tale. They should also know any content that merits discussion with the group. Sure. Although each individual story for 13 Omens is its own plot, antagonist, characters, archetypes, and settings, there's several common horror story techniques that are worth keeping in mind. Okay, so Terror build slowly, agreed. Less is more, also agree. 100%. Twists and revelations, that is my storytelling style in a nutshell for anyone who watches this channel. All of you know that everything I do is that. Hope is key. Yeah, you got to give them a little bit of fucking hope, yo. A little bit of hope. It's the only way. Without hope, it ends up poorly. Story structure, similar structure meant to be easy for the host to do. Synopsis and content considerations, introductions and archetype, prologue, and then go from there. Creepy, love it. Acts. After the prologue, a bulk of the story is divided into 3 acts. And remember that act also determines that omen number as it grows. Scenes. Each act is broken down into several scenes. These represent the discrete moments in the story. Okay. Conclusion, end of the story. I do wonder, is there a way to do Friday the 13th, the TV series, where those characters stay and play throughout, and maybe you have a rotating cast as, you know, they have to get rid of the stress that or the strain that they've taken and the wounds they've taken. Is there a way to run a TV series would be my big question looking at this. Calling for checks. This is going to be obviously the main job of the host. In most cases, there is no risk of failure. Yeah, so we have this. The host must decide whether to check and determine success. In most cases, there is no risk of failure, few consequences for repeated attempts, and no real chance of harm. The action simply succeeds without a check. Opening a door, moving, basic bullshit. Unless you're under stress, don't make them roll. When asked for a check, this is normally a simple or routine task. Can call for a check if the circumstances are extraordinarily dangerous. Opening a door might be routine at a post office, but pulling open a door in an abandoned factory while being chased by a killer might call for a check. Yeah, you stumble, you make decisions. This, you know, everyone trips. Everyone trips in a horror movie. Everybody, right? That's how shit goes awry. The success for most checks is obvious. The character accomplishes what they're doing. But if they fail, what happens? If there's no readable apparent cost for failure, likely because it doesn't truly matter in the story, you should just try again without danger. It probably doesn't demand a check. Cool. I'm sure there's a number of ways you could use the system to tell an ongoing story, but the engine balances around a single night stories. Outside that, it's pretty flexible. Stretch goal, huh? That's what I'm hearing. Stretch goal. I love running like 6-episode TV series for streams. Like Ghost Hunters in a house. I mean, you could divide your acts up and just do 3 acts. That's also something you could do. I could see some ways to reset things if needed, have a stable of characters or bring new characters in. There's a source of evil menacing them. Whenever a character is asked to make a check, they may draw an omen die from which they can cause harm. If a malevolent entity is in the scene with them, even routine tasks might become dangerous. Is forced to try to interfere with their efforts. Note that this is an action inherently dangerous. They might call for a risky check, which is the one where you're upping the chance of getting fucked up. Mr. Ink style team, rotating cast going through. Yeah, you can do rotating cast. My brain is going to the attributes changing based on things that happen between episodes. Like if they're wounding, one of their attributes might just keep that flaw for a while until they can get to a hospital and get it repaired. Or if someone gets knocked unconscious or fucked up, a new character might come in. There's numerous ways you can do it. I don't think I need growth as much as I need the personalities there to continue the story. Gear that they acquire, knowledge that they acquire, things like that. So you're basically teaching them how to make checks and when would you do it. I like this. Smart. Again, repeating that difficulty that you can select it. Selecting an aspect. For me, running this game, I'm envisioning a clipboard that has all the target numbers, the names of the characters on it, so I can write the names in. Maybe even a dry erase would be kind of dope. Or a sheet you could print out, because I would just laminate it myself. Laminators up there. So that I could like cross off names that get dead. I could mark how many wounds they have. Just like a director's clipboard for the host. I think that'd be a really cool concept for running this. We even have the clacker that I would use for doing this because I ran Archiver. I think that'd be kind of cool. Setting difficulty, we've talked about that earlier. Granting edges and flaws. Where the difficulty of the check remains unchanged no matter the situation. Edges and flaws are based entirely on temporary circumstances, useful tools, or outside aid. Cool. All right. Aid, another character, someone helping. We talked about this in our scene of recording that interview and the fly crawling out of the dude's eye, hitting her in the eye, and causing the fractalization of her eye. Environment, sometimes environment's a problem. Gear can give you bonuses, or they can be broken. Risky checks are important. Remember that a risky check, this means that if the check fails, the character attempting it gets a strain or loses a piece of gear. Basically, the risk reward is kind of what you're looking at here. Well, not reward, risk or bad. A check can have both an omen die and be risky, meaning that even if the omen die doesn't result in a wound, the character still could suffer a drawback of the check because you could fail and the wound die could still be a 5, for example, but the target number is a 9. You could do Phasmophobia. Sure. Ghost Hunters. The first story in here sounds like it's Ghost Hunters. Harmless checks. Those are the things we talked about earlier. Educating results. Objectating results. Educating. I can't talk today. Adjuncting results. Roll is greater than the target numbers, what you're looking for. Roll is equal to target number. Something should happen alongside of it. Roll is less than the target number. If it's risky, they take a strain, lose gear. Most importantly, they fail is the big thing. And the story should still move forward. That door's locked. Go find a key. Omen dice. If any omen dice, this is important. I'm going to highlight this. I feel like this is the thing that we kept having questions on as we go through. If any omen dice are rolled as part of the check, have a result equal to or less than the current act, the character receives a wound, regardless of whether the task was successful. Characters can't get more than one wound during a single check, no matter how many omen dice are rolled. Because you want them to try to make it through all 3 acts. Failing forward. First off, you should learn this for almost all games. Again, I think this is a but therefore to concept. The whole South Park but therefore instead of yes and. I think that is a very good concept for running this, just in my brief reading. Sometimes a check can result in a failure, but the action is still a success with a significant price, such as the loss of gear or application of strain. Acts and pacing. This is the number one thing. If I can teach a GM anything, it's how to pace. But the Omen dice automatically kind of set a pacing for you, which is great. Broken into 3 acts, each serves a very specific purpose. The host needs to carefully monitor the progress of the tale and be ready to move between acts when the time is right. Typically, this is done by the host taking Omen dice from in front of them and adding the Omen dice either to the bag or directly to a roll. Omen dice pacing. At the start of each session, the host should lay out the Omen dice in front of them, with none of them being in the bag or in front of any other players. The addition of the Omen dice to the bag or to the players checks controls the pace of the story in 13 Omens. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, these are your pacings. You're using them as a way to drive the danger forward and the suspense forward in a story. With more dice in play, being in direct relation to the danger faced by the players, because remember, you get wounded. Whenever an Omen die is added by the host to the game, it can be added directly to the bag, typically in response to some turn in the story or menacing change in the environment, like you see the guy walk by the window, you drop a die in. Or it can be added to the check that is about to be made as a flaw. This later option is great for adding tension to the moment you really want to add a dilemma to it. And should be used when a character is interacting directly with the evil force that is the heart of the story. All right. The host always adds Omen dice to the bag at the conclusion of the prologue. They add the rest of the Omen dice at their discretion. But as they are added, the nature of the story changes. Eventually, the act begins according to the following general guidelines. Act 1. Act 1 serves as a time to ground the story and allow the characters to get to know one another. The evils eventually come around to dominate the story is dormant. Waiting, building in strength. Its nature not yet obvious with the characters, but the signs are there. If only the characters are clever enough to see them during this act. Frank House Dilemma, baby. During this act, 3 Omen dice are added to play, bringing the total up to 4. So you finish the prologue, put one down, and then during this act, 3 Omen dice are added to play. You're going to add 3 more during this, giving 4 in the bag by the end. The 5th Omen dice is added at the very start of Act 2, so basically you're adding more suspense. The 5th die goes in, direct action against the characters. From this point forward, the pace of the story and the level of tension constantly build. What was once a subtle menace is now overt, because you got 5 fucking dice in there. And I think it's 8 dice, if I remember correctly. I think it's 8 of these that are in there. Subtle menace, the characters realize the danger they're in and should start desperately seeking in escape and overcome the evil. During this act, a total of 4 Omen dice are added to play, bringing the total up to 8. Act 3 begins. The 9th Omen die is added in. The final act of the story features a showdown with malevolence that has hunted the character throughout the story. If they are fortunate throughout the first 2 acts, the characters have discovered some way to escape or vanquish the evil in this act. They desperately work together to accomplish a goal or die in the attempt. The 13th Omen die should be added to the final scene of the story. Due to the high risk of wounds, many characters may perish during this act. My question to you, Jason, is when a GM or a host hands out a die as part of a roll, that goes into the bag too, right? Doesn't matter how I'm adding the dice to it. I'm adding them during those acts in order of how many should be added, either through handing it to them or putting it in the bag. The ones that are handed to them after the roll, unless they get wounded, go back to the bag. Because if that's the case, that's awesome, because you're making it tense during that, and then it's still going to the bag to fuck with them later, which I really enjoy. Again, great art. Love the color coding. I hope the dice are this blue, and then the Omen dice are this red. That'd be great. Speeding up the game is very important in the first act to keep the story moving forward in danger. Yeah, I agree. Pacing is everything. And it's easy to do it. Act should be no more than 1 hour in length of the game table. Act 1, 1 hour. Makes sense. Love it. If characters are slow to leave a scene, the host can usually encourage action through the use of non-player characters, ominous environmental changes, and direct calls for action throughout this, in addition of Omen dice to the bag. Okay, I like that. That makes sense. Borrowed time, optional. Due to poor luck or bad circumstances, a character may perish very early in the story, or at a moment which it doesn't make sense for them. We talked about that earlier. Can declare that they're living on borrowed time. At any point later in the story, the host can decide the character dies. So you have brain contusions, broken something, stabbed through, bleeding out, whatever. Adapting the tale. Talks about adapting it. Existing scenes that bridge gaps. Great art yet again. Sometimes moving scene is not enough to get the story back. You have to shift plot. So this is teaching all of the storytelling elements that good storytellers, good writers, good GMs already use. Different group sizes, 13 Omens. This is important. I was going to ask about this, how you handle this. 13 Omens is designed to run with 5 players. with one serving as host and the other 4 as characters, but can accommodate for smaller and larger groups. For groups with only 3 characters, run the game as normal, but each character can remove 1 strain at any point during the game, explaining it away in a way that is sorry. So maybe they're tougher, they're like a SEAL Team 5 or whatever it is. Wound before succumbing to darkness. For a story with only 1 character, increase this to 2 additional wounds. Awesome. It's not advisable to run 13 Omens with too large a group, as a good horror tale requires time for each character. Yeah, if I ran with a big group, I'd have 2 bags of dice for the 2 groups. I would run them separately somehow, like 2 groups of 3 or whatever you may do. It'd be a good way to kind of run those 2 for maybe a prolonged tale. 6 characters each takes 2 fewer wounds before they die. Awesome. I like this. This is a good way to kind of teach you how to do it. Lingering spirits. I love this. I'm assuming this if you die, they stick around as a ghost. Helpful at any one time later in the story, the player can interrupt the scene with a brief flashback to when their character was still alive. During this flashback, they're allowed to describe a way in which they did something that might help a current situation. For example, the spirit player might declare that earlier in the day they dropped some extra batteries into the backpack. Bowman, you added the backpack as such a cool thing in your Apocalypse game, Hope Finder, where you describe as you pull things out of the backpack. I love that I'm seeing that kind of come full circle again. And now it's, dropping things in a backpack. Ways that you're affecting the scene. And I also love that when you're playing things like Werewolf or, was it Blood on the Clock Tower, Death of the Clock Tower, and how spirits can still be involved. Very cool. Possibility of characters, awesome. Concluding the story, defeating evil forces, kind of have a wrap up. 2 possible endings, either you did it or you didn't, is what I'm guessing here. Ending uplifting, moment of relief for the terrorists they fought against, or everyone dies. It's going horrible. Evil never dies, no matter how the story wraps up. There's one last note for the hope to keep in mind. Final narration, the evil never truly dies. Of course, they're always there. Jason's mask, Freddy's claw, something in a dream world, the Hellraiser cube is seen somewhere else, so on and so on. This is the house, and then I think this is your first haunting of Hollybrook. I'm not going to read this out. I don't want to ruin this for people who are interested in running this, but what I do want to do quickly is just kind of show the setup for a GM. These are your little dossiers, kind of note cards. They show what they are with little icons, who they are. This is the thing you're going to read off in the beginning. The ghost van, their ghost story. Is it Ghost Stormers? Ghost Stormers van. Then they break down each character. These, if we go to view, and I go to our 2-page spread. Come on, biatch. There we go. So we go to our side-by-side spreads. Let me do this. You can see this is made for a 2-page spread format, and you can see what's here. I love this as a quick storytelling system. I think it's a lot of fun, especially if they can get some dope-ass IPs for this. I think this could be a really fun way to run some horror, and you all know I love horror games. I feel like this is Paizo's response to things like Fiasco, like Dread, things like that. This is their response to it. I think this is great. Great way to kind of lay everything out and play a game over the course of a few hours and enjoy a horror thing. But I think the number one thing this does is teaches a GM how to pace a story. It takes the dice away from them to make it easier for them to focus on what they're running. So, with that, we're going to record our quick synopsis of this and go over it. So let me put us back to the full page. Let me pull up our proper music. Thank you, Jason, for joining us for this. I think Final Girl, probably my Final Girl cut song that Melanie helped make. I think we'll use this for it. So let's corpse talk this up, everybody. Starting recording. Maybe. All right, recording. Hey everybody, we just did a long show on going over not only a Kickstarter, but also 13 Omens, and that's what I want to talk about today. 13 Omens is a brand new rules-light horror movie inspired, or horror genre inspired, rule set for you to play. The preview is out right now. You can pick it up. The link is down in the slab below. I'm not going to go through all the details of this, and I sure as shit am not going to ruin the stories. Why? Well, the way this is set up, currently set up, is you got your preview book here. Pretty simple, easy to understand. Everything is in here that you need to run your first tale, right? Your first story as the host. There is a story in this one called The Ghost Stormers. There is also their sample of what one of their zine adventures are going to be with the Bequeath. I'm not going to go through the story. I'm not going to ruin anything. But I am going to talk about the rules and what I like about the pacing for what this is. We've had a lot of questions in the audience, and one of the lead designers showed up and was here along for the ride as well. You can watch the full live show down below if you want to see their input on what we talked about as well. Now, enough of this. Bats, let's go take a look at 13 Omens. So, 13 Omens is a 64-page zine. It's going to be going to Kickstarter or Backer Kit. I don't know which one they're going to use, but that's going to be in October. You can pre-order right now for these, but the PDF you get after you pre-order. I think it's like $5 to hold your review spot at the time of this recording. I love the art, and Bowman is one of my favorite designers, and the Paizo team never really disappoints. We've played Paizo products here forever, so this is one of those ones where I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. We went through the review. This is not hyperlinked. I'm sure we're going to get hyperlinks in the final version. It is made to be a 2-page spread as you are looking through these. This is a little story explaining a sample of what there is in the game and how it would look. Now, I don't want to look at it this way. We're going to go to single-page scroll. The reason is I want to talk about some of the rules and the things that I saw when we're going through this. Your first 16... I shouldn't say that. Your first 29 pages is making a character, the gameplay, how you host the game, and really teaching GMs how to pace a horror story. You all know that I'm a fan of the Frank House Dilemma here, and this does a pretty good job of building Frank House Dilemmas into the mechanics of the game through how they use dice. So, I can see the love from other games being brought into this and brought into the mechanical design of how this thing runs. The art is awesome. I love this blue and red style. I really hope that when the Kickstarter comes out, that the bad guy dice are this bright red, the omen dice that will be in the bag, and that the tealy green ghostial colors are your story dice. I'm really excited for it. So you can visit 13omens.com, the number 13 in Omens, if you want to sign up for the campaign, for the crowdfunder that'll be happening. You have a couple of different things in this game. The number 1 and 2 thing that you need to know is you're going to need a bag. You're going to need 2 colors of dice. I just grabbed some that I had next to me to kind of showcase what we're doing. And you have to put 8 of these safe dice into the game. Safe dice are going to be our green dice here today. I'm going to pull 8 out. These are some old, I think, Warhammer dice. I'm going to put them in this chainmail bag because that's what was next to me. And that's our 8 dice to start the game. This is what your players are going to draw from to make their rolls using their aspects. What are aspects? Well, there's 2 kinds. There are your core aspects in the game: courage, evade, fight, luck, and perception. And then, depending on the tale that you are playing, the story that you're playing, you also have story aspects that are tied directly to the game that you're about to play. The tale of 3 acts, this horror movie that you're going to be a part of. These can be anything from like occult to mysticism to, it could be race car driving. Who knows what horror movie you're going to play? But these other 5 aspects are tied directly to the story. You're going to have target numbers you have to roll against in this game. It's very simple. You draw from this bag. You're going to look at your character sheet and you're going to draw those pieces out, and you want to roll to equal to that target number on your character sheet or higher. Reminder, if you do roll equal to, if your target number is 4, which is a really low number, which is what you want because you're rolling those 2d6 plus some extra dice that we'll get into in a moment. Let's talk about that for a minute. This game is built on the idea of quick narrative play. Everyone knows how to roll 2 dice, everybody can add 2 dice together, and everybody can differentiate between 2 colors of dice. Even if you're colorblind, you could do 2 different styles of dice if you had to. Skulls on one, numbers on another, pips on one, numerical numbers on another. Doesn't matter, there's always a way to do it. Target numbers in this game for your stats go from great, good, average, bad, terrible. And that's 4, 5, 7, 9, 10. I just threw a die down here somewhere. I think I can grab it. I don't want my Omen dice to go somewhere. We're going to need them later. The reason that they have these target numbers is the GM rolls no dice in this game. Your focus as the GM is to run an evocative story, horror story, in 3 acts with your players. And these Omen dice are your pacing and your way to make things satisfying. The GM is going to take 13 dice and set them in front of themselves. And over the course of the prologue, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, the GM is going to use these dice to make the stakes dangerous and overall deadly. In our live show that we just did for our review, we talked about The Fly and interviewing somebody who's a part of this concept. These dice get added in as you go, and they get either thrown into this bag or directly handed out by the GM as a flaw to make things more difficult. So what's a flaw? Well, there's edges and flaws. So let's go back to the table and I'll talk about those briefly. Edges and flaws. We've played a lot of games over the years, everybody. We all know how this works. Edges and flaws wash things out. An edge is a bonus, and a flaw is a penalty. They are D6s. They wash each other out. Advantage, disadvantage, boons and banes. Pick your system of choice. Regardless, these wash each other out, and you end up with nothing. But if you end up with an edge, and you're rolling your edge dice, for example, you would roll 3 dice with edge, and you would take the 2 highest. So let's pull this up for you. I'll show you an example to make it easy, because it makes more sense. This is rolling with edge. You would take the 2 highest. I made a 4. My target number is 4. I would have succeeded with some form of a problem. But let's say I was rolling with flaw. And I pull 3 out of the bag, and I roll the flaw. I had to take the 2 lowest. I still succeeded because I have a target number of 4. But if I had a 5, this would have been a fail. Now, here's how things get fucking spicy. Let's just throw these dice back in here. We have our 8 dice. The prologue is over. What happens when the prologue is over? I add a die in here that's an Omen die. And let's say we're part of the way through Act 1. And I've added 1 more die to this thing. If I were to reach in and say I draw, and I'm drawing my 2 dice, and I pull out this, that means that there's now an Omen die involved. We're in Act 1. I would roll these. I'm successful. You're adding them together. But let's just say I rolled a 1. And let's say this was a 1 as well. A 2, not only is it a failure, something in that scene happened, something that damages me. In our show that we did earlier in the live show, I had a fly come out of this dude's eye that I was interviewing and hit me in the eye and start fractaling my eye to look like a fly's orb. Because of that, this 1 would have called maybe a wound, maybe distress, but now I have a wound and I pull this die out and it now becomes mine. When I collect too many of these dice, I get to the inevitable moment of dying or something catastrophic happening to me in a scene. Don't worry, storytellers, they teach you about how to handle this. If this stuff is just luck-based and it all happens right out of the gate in the beginning of this book, or beginning of Act 1, there's ways to circumnavigate this and keep them in play. Maybe it's horrible and they're slowly growing into this grotesque creature, and by the end, if they've already gotten their 4 dice, you're going to put them in a state of a really bad situation and kill them in a moment that makes sense. There are some unique things in here with these edges and flaws. You can get 2 sources. It could be a piece of gear you have and someone assisting you, like a cameraman and a good microphone. Or maybe your glasses were assisting as a fly comes to hit you in the eye. That is an edge that you have for what you were doing. The GM can also, or the host, as it's called in this game, change the task difficulty. You can go up or down by 2. Average is at 0, You can make it easier for them by putting a -1, and this changes the difficulty number that is on their character sheet. Very simple to understand, very easy to go through. And we talked about things canceling out. They also have a bunch of stuff about how the Omen dice work, where they work in the story, how you take wounds from them, and more. Now, hold on a second here. I know Omen dice personally from Betrayal House on the Hill, and I think it was one of my favorite new dice mechanics I had seen since maybe Fiasco. And the idea of having to roll against a structured number that is rising tension in a game. The difficulty on this Omen die, at any point in time, if you pull one out of this bag and you roll it, or the GM hands you one and you roll it, if you ever have equal to the act or less, something bad's going to happen. You're taking a wound, or a really bad form of mental stress. Maybe you're playing some form of cosmic horror. These dice determine pace as these 13 dice get handed out, and they determine the danger by how many of them are in this bag. I think this elegantly handles running horror in a way that we don't see often. The closest thing for like tension building for me is running Dread with a Jenga tower, and this allows you to do it with dice and travel with it very easily. I am super excited with what's in here. Not only do they give you an adventure in this book to play, they give you the host of archetypes for your characters. Well, what's an archetype? Characters are broken down into some pretty simple, bite-sized pieces where you're assigning things to a character sheet, and that character sheet determines who you are. So, I don't want to ruin the story. I don't want to ruin this first piece that you do, but I will show you a spread of what you get in the game when you have these two kind of, these options that you have to build your character. So, let's go back over to the table. I'll pull open a 2-page spread, and you can see what an archetype looks like in an actual story arc. I think it's going to explain it better than I can with words. There is also a cheat page here in the sample builds that breaks down everything so you can understand what a character build is like. Great way to kind of learn what it is. This is on 15 if you do pick up the preview copy. So now, let's scroll down to the story here, everybody. And I know I'm kind of blazing through some of the art. I don't want to ruin too much for you. You should check this out. So this is the face. This is a sample character from the story that's in here for the Ghost Stormers. You can see these are the pieces that you would read out in a prologue to your players. You tell them what each character is, and I would treat this like cinema. As the van is riding in, you start in the back of the vehicle with the true believer sitting back there checking batteries in his flashlight. And then you go to the next person, a tech specialist, checking the gear, and you explain who they are. You roll up to the face, leaning back, talking to a local fan that's traveling with them that maybe won a trip to the Ghost Stormers for a live recording at this house. And the Gopher Supreme is driving the van, talking to everybody. But you go through and explain these out, and the characters pick who they want to play in the story based on the little write-ups of each one of these, the archetype summary. Then you would hand them their character sheet. It's a 2-page spread that's very simple. For example, that face, the person who's doing the interview. You can see all of your possible personality traits, your relations to other characters, what a Gopher Supreme is as the face and what it does, what a local fan is, all of that's here, right, for it. But then we have a breakdown here of the sheets. What are the sheets? So you got your name, your trait. These are where your wounds are going to go in the game. As you get those Omen dice that you pull out, you fail your roll, and those stack up. Things happen as they do stack up as well. Then you have your core aspects, and then you can see your story aspects here. Charm, Ghost Stormers lore, mechanics, occultism, and technology. You're going to assign those 4 difficulties we said before, because one of them starts at a rating of great, and then you're going to pick whatever your grade in the other ones, and then you're going to assign the other ratings from that 4 to 10 to your character sheet so you know what you're good at. You have a box to mark if you ever get a strain in the game. Strain provides basically a flaw to what you're doing. You can overcome those with bandages and things like that, but you can never have something wash a strain out more than one strain at a time. So if you use bandages and a splint for a twisted ankle, that strain will go away, but that gear is, well, cost for cost. They should wash one another out. Then you're going to pick 2 of the following perks. Each of these characters has their own perks. You can see there's Bossy here, Demand Focus, Face Danger. You also have Non-Believer, Self-Confident, and Wealthy here, where you start with more money. Afterwards, your character starts with the mic, because they interview people, and up to 4 selections from the following list. Branded t-shirt, cell phone, flashlight, and so on. Some perks, some characters, some other things, or maybe the story lets you start with more or less of your starting gear. And that's your character in a nutshell. From here on out, it's all about the GM. You decide what you look like and do what you ever want to do, but the host is running the story. I think the strength of this, while the mechanics are good, I think the true strength of 13 Omens is their ability to teach a GM how to pace a horror movie, a horror story, through the use of the Omen dice, success and failure, in a 3-act structure. I teach this anytime I teach GMing to people and why a 3-act structure is important, what you use them for, what you can get out of them. But this goes a little deeper, and it starts teaching you other aspects, like when to flex, when to change things within it, how the Omen dice help you with pacing, when to give Omen dice out during certain acts, and how many you should hand out, so you don't bury the needle so early in the game. The dice are already going to do that for you when you roll and someone dies in a car crash in Act 1, but they survive enough with head wounds and a whole bunch of other traumas. Maybe the Thing took over their body and they have actually been the Thing the whole time and no one knows. There's a lot of things you can do with these Omen dice and the paced storytelling. I love that they teach you that hope is key, Terra builds slow, less is more, and then twist and revelations are important, or in my words, the Frank House Dilemma. This comes with a full story arc for it, and then there is another one as well, which is the Bequeathed that is coming out. It might even be in that PDF one. Check the link below to find out for yourself. Look, we don't have enough horror-based storytelling games. And if this is going to be their zine answers to things, and we're going to get new stories all the time for the core rules, 64 pages, and an adventure, just imagine the IPs we could get. Imagine the things we could get to run stories. Maybe we'll get Hellraiser. Maybe I'll finally get Psycho Goreman as a horror game that I can run. I think this is a fantastic way to present horror storytelling and putting the pacing within the mechanics to make sure that anyone can run a horror game. Because like I've said many times, there are 2 types of games that are hard to run. For me, it's superhero games, long term. The investment is hard. And horror games, which is my specialty. And I think that 13 Omens has really nailed how to do it through mechanics and teaching in 64 pages. But that's it for me here on EFP. If you're in a live show, stick around for a little bit. For the rest of you, though, we got a thank you we got to do. So let's go and let's say thank you to all the people from Patreon. Everybody, I would not be able to do the stuff that I'm doing today without the help of these patron members. It is awesome. These people that are going to show up here are making this possible. If you love the things that I do, this is a great way to support me, or through subscribing to the channel. If you haven't done that, you know how it works. There's a bell, turn all on, or you never see what the fuck happens. This is a rated R show. If you're watching this at work and I'm swearing fuckity fuck, you probably should be wearing headphones. These people know that. All of them do. You can find the things that I have been working on over on Eric Frankhouse Presents on Patreon. This is all of the live documents for Athantia using Dragonbane, Magic and Monsters using Daggerheart, and of course Breachers, which is out. You can purchase the PDFs or a physical copy in our merch shop right now. And that's using the Shadow Dark system. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you for Bowman for showing up during the live recording of this. I hope you guys are interested in 13 Omens. I think this is a great October release for us. And I'll see you all real soon. Take me away, bats. Stay fucking rotten, everybody. All right, so for the live show, what do you guys think? I think this is a clean, tight, rules light system with a really good chance to have franchises and IPs picked up from like going to an IP show. We've seen Everyday Heroes pick up a slew of IPs with things coming out. And the idea of being able to collect a dope box set of dope this book, and then a sleeve to put all the awesome zines in, makes me really happy. I think this is a great idea. Great idea. I hope they continue on with this. I hope that this foray into doing zines for them, and that the ability to write something new is really good. The ability to put out a product that isn't just Pathfinder, but for them to kind of be diving into new things and putting out new products under the Paizo flag is healthy for a company. I think that if you write the same thing for too long, you lose your fucking mind. If you can't branch out and do other things, eventually you just get tired of writing the thing you once originally loved. So, good luck to Paizo. I think you got something good on your hands. The only thing I would say changes for me is some tables and some cheat sheets to make this easier to understand how the dice work when they can and cannot be brought out, because visual aids are always better than written aids. I also think looking at the book, it's laid out fine, it looks great, but we repeat a lot of the uses of flaws, omen dice, and edges in numerous spots. I know one is on the game rule side, the other one is on the GM side, but we had to go through flaws and edges a couple of times to figure out how they function. In recent years, I fall back to the visual aids, and obviously this is a preview copy. Maybe in the final, that's a plan. But the visual aids that you see in like Outgunned, where they talk about matching your stuff up in stacks and how it works, how your edges and rolls work in that. But overall, I get the concept. And I love Omen Dice's pacing. I love them when they were in our fantastic Betrayal House on the Hill. They got reprinted eventually. I played that game with my friend Noel and a group of friends at Gen Con, and it will still always be one of the most memorable games I ever ran as we role-played our way through Betrayal House on the Hill. And now I feel like I can just run games using similar mechanics. This is really good stuff. It makes me happy to see new horror stuff on the horizon. So that's it for me. We went long today because we didn't have one last week. We started at 3:30. We're ending at 7:20. I'll edit this video, do some tightening up on it, and I'll put that out here probably. Maybe I'll save it for October when this goes live. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll put it out early, and then we'll come back and look at the Kickstarter in October. Anything to support friends that work at companies. That's it for me. Do not forget, everyone. Links are down below. They'll be in the slab after the show. Don't forget that we are going to be back Monday with our horror game that we're running, because I had no idea about this while I was prepping it, as we start running our Dark Space game in Slot Pocket. Don't forget there are affiliate links to get a hold of some Hot Pockets for yourself for the live show on Monday as we run our lovely twisted version. I'm not saying what it is. There's a few people who are in our secret channel that know what we're doing. I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. Thanks to Nick for the lovely new twat waffle emojis. And of course for Nick making Slitlid play a vending machine for Slot Pocket. I cannot wait to see how fucking wild this goes. That's it for me, everybody. Bats, take me home. You're welcome, Bowman.